our second and final best of 3 of the day about to kick off here in Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League. We are getting down to the wire. Last couple weeks of play prior to Masters, prior to qualifiers, and then prior to Worlds. And of course, all of these high-octane games powered by our friends over at Alienware. Not only our players, but up here on the caster desk, back in production as well. And you at home can get your hands on some Alienware gear. If you head on over to smitegame.com/Alienware, AWSmite09 is the code you want to use for discounts on select Alienware gear. Guaranteed to make you better at the game, or Mifflin will give you your money back. And that is the Mifflin guarantee. But thanks to Alienware for being with us here in Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League. And the man whose money I potentially just gambled away now joins me on the desk. Miff still digging himself out of a hole of a bet with Twitch chat last year. Now on the hook for a little bit more. Actually, you know what? I'll amend that statement. Might not make you better, but you'll look a lot better regardless of how you're doing. There you go. I've bailed you out.
Thanks. I really cannot emphasize this enough. You will not get any money from me, Twitch chat. Ever. All right? Ever.
They did save some money with the discount code that we threw up there.
And I'm still paying that off, so it's not happening again.
Yeah, still working on that one. Just as we're still working on getting ourselves into our second set of the day. Our first set of the day, very competitive. A number 1 versus a number 2 matchup. That was Jade Dragons, Atlantis Leviathans. That one goes 3. Leviathans ultimately pull it out. They widen the gap against the rest of the league here, and we'll see that in just a moment. But what do we have to end the day with today? Screens behind me and Miff have probably already given it away. The Solar Scarabs up against the Solar Titans. Tartarus Titans. After plenty of roster swaps, the blood feud begins again. And the Solar Scarabs and the Titans will end our day here on Thursday. Tomorrow, a doubleheader, and then 2 triple headers on Saturday and Sunday. My goodness, we've got 10 sets of Smite for you here this weekend. And all of them very meaningful as far as standings go. Because if you start to look towards the end of the phase, and we've talked about this a lot, Leviathans look near untouchable at this point. They are 4 sets ahead of the Camelot Kings, the Oni Warriors, and then 5, and you move on down. So the Leviathans should, in theory, be safe in that top 2, where 1 set at Phase 3 playoffs qualifies you to Worlds. Camelot Kings, though, they have their eyes on the Dragons, who are only 2 games ahead of them, so set 1, about the best outcome the Kings could hope for. And so then we start to shift our eyes towards one of the teams in this matchup, the Solar Scarabs. Another team in this matchup, the Titans, because if you're looking at top 6, remember only the top 6 SPL teams go to the Phase 3 playoffs with a chance to qualify right then to Worlds. It's the few matches the Scarabs could pick up. Titans, can they start to win? Can they widen that gap with the bottom 2? Those are the sorts of things we're going to start considering here, Miff. The problem is with the Scarabs, the team that they got to go on a win streak here towards the end of the phase to bust into the top 6. They've lost players all year long to various teams. More recently, they lose Stewart to the Titans. Bring in Hurrywin to play support. They didn't lose a player this time. They lost their head coach. Slaney now joins the Tartarus Titans as their head coach. And it's Baronic, the last lone member of the Solar Scarabs OG squad, playing against a bunch of his old teammates. And it's a really bad time. We talked about it on Waiting Room, trying to figure out your identity, losing all these bits and pieces, but now your coach, the one that's kind of bringing you together. Tough luck for the Scarabs team.
Yeah, and a strange dynamic to be sure, but I think the Solar Scarabs have got the opportunity to bounce back. Obviously, it's a completely different squad, so I don't even know if it's fair to say bounce back. This new Solar Scarabs got an opportunity to prove that they are capable of something, right? It is essentially a brand new team. Hard to say what these guys are going to look like because, well, this is one of the first weeks where we haven't had to talk about a legitimate player swap out. So now we can have a conversation of what are they building upon, how are they gearing up, what are things going to start to look like as we get closer and closer to Worlds, what type of compositions are you looking to play. As of recent, it's been a bit more standard team fight focused type stuff. I'm thinking large AoE CC abilities, standard initiation, just classical smite, and that seems to be the Solar Scarabs just trying to figure out how they want to play as a team before they figure out a key identity or something that is a bit more in the niche department. But
Yep.
curiosity, I think, has just got to be the defining factor of this squad. What is it that the Solar Scarabs want to do? Whether or not they know, to be seen, because I certainly have got no idea what they're going to bring out on any given day.
Now, if you're starting to look mathematically at the Scarabs' chances of breaking into the top 6, you're starting to look towards tiebreakers potentially. Titans, one of the teams that if the Titans lose out, then the Scarabs could jump over them, bop the Titans into the bottom 2. But this might need to be where the Scarabs start their winning. They play the Leviathans next later on this weekend, tomorrow. And they play the Kings on Sunday. And so there's
Not ideal.
No, so I mean if you're looking at winning 3 of your last 5 just to tie a team in the top 6, if you're the Scarabs, you'd think it's got to be this one, it's got to be Vex, it's got to be Oni Warriors, but it's going to be hard. And so I think the Scarabs now just trying to build some momentum, build an identity, and really look towards Worlds for this squad and see if you can find some upsets there. Now on the flip side, Tartarus Titans, this is a team that has been the definition of hit or miss so far here in Phase 3. Have had some really good wins. They beat the Oni Warriors cleanly 2-0 last Saturday. And then on Sunday, get swept by the Leviathans 2-0. So it's been a team that struggled to find consistency. They also have 5 sets left this phase. Have not shied away from trying unique styles of composition, Smith. But now a new coach playing behind them, coaching from behind them. And a coach that has coached a good few players on this team in the past. Wonder what type of dynamics Slaney might change for this team.
You know, I've had the opportunity in the past, very briefly, to have Slaney act as one of my coaches, and he brings a good deal of level-headedness. He acts as an arbitrator in like discussions amongst the team. He's really good at making sure that arguments don't get down to a personal level. I think that's going to be very important for the Tartarus Titans. Just having an outsider looking in, or someone that can be an unbiased, I suppose, opinion maker for this team, I think, going to be very, very valuable. Whether or not he's going to make massive strides for this squad, I'm not certain that there's enough time for him to really mold them before we get to Worlds, but any bit of boost that they can get, I think, going to go a very long way. Worth noting, though, that the meme around this team is that they're the Solar Titans, because when you look at them, what is it, 4, 5, including the coach of them, just about, used to be Solar Scarabs.
Yep.
Usually, when you want to make changes like that but stick together, you just bench the one guy, right? But instead, they all jump ship to a different team.
Yep.
Curious to see. I mean, another conversation around a squad where it's hard to say what they're going to be doing. Hard to say what they're developing because legitimately it's a brand new squad.
I think you'd imagine it's a structural change in the sense that it provides structure stability to the team. And they've got their own identity kind of figured out with one another, and they've got a little bit of time to do it. So as far as Scarabs versus Titans go, a Titans win here would put them, the Titans individually, 4 sets ahead of the Scarabs. Both teams would then have 4 sets to play. So for any jumping to happen between the Scarabs and the Titans, after today, if the Titans win, it would have to be a Titan lose out. It would have to be a Scarabs win out. The dynamic between these two teams heavily favoring the Tartarus Titans, and the deal could just be sealed, at least between these two teams later on here today. Now, 2 teams, 2 different track records, 2 different directions. We'll have to see what Sanford Soccer and Aurora had to say prior to this big matchup.
We're playing the Scarabs next week, and they're not looking that good, but they've had some moments, like against the Dragons. They had a couple good plays, and they extended the game, so we're definitely not going to underestimate them, and we're going to try our best.
Yeah, Titans, they've started to look better than when I think they originally got Stu. It seemed like they lacked direction a little bit. They've definitely stepped it up since then, I think.
The person that's been playing the best on the Scarabs as of late, I feel like has been Scary. He's been having really strong lane performances and just doing pretty well overall. He had a lead against the Bolts today, or this past week, and he had a lead in the Dragons game as well. It's Hades, or he I don't know if he had a lead, but he got pretty fed.
The biggest threat, I think, is generally Paul. A lot of the time, that's like where their big plays come from. Him or like Solo or Troll. So probably one of those 2.
Me and my team feel pretty good about going to the Scarabs game. We're just gonna try to play the best Smite as possible and just look to improve because Worlds is coming up soon. So if we can get better, that's really good, and that's what we're focusing on.
For like standings wise, it's not that likely we get out of the bottom 2. I think maybe if we won all of our games, we'd have a shot. But yeah, I think we have like a chance to beat them for sure. But overall, I think we just kind of gotta treat every game as like practice to get as good as possible for like Worlds qualifiers almost at this point. Obviously, if we can go on a streak and win it, it'd be really good. But yeah, we just kind of gotta try to improve as much as possible.
Honestly, probably the best mentality possible for Sam there, where you're looking at yourself as a team and you're saying, look, the odds are stacked against us heavily. Look, if we can go on a streak and we can win, fantastic. But right now, it's about cleaning up our mistakes, because there are some very, very good SOC and SEC teams that we're expecting. Kind of the expectations are a few specific SEC squads that could potentially upset some of our SPL teams as far as qualifying to Worlds goes. And so that's where the Solar Scarabs and Sanford Soccer aiming themselves here over the next couple of weeks. Whereas on the flip side, Myth feels like the Titans, that they're providing ample respect to the Solar Scarabs team, but it's about building consistency and an identity for themselves. A lot of the same, building up momentum and practice prior to Worlds, prior to the Phase 3 playoffs. Because remember, 2 teams from Phase 3 playoffs dropped down to the group stages of Worlds in early January. Phase 3 playoffs is not an auto-guarantee qualifier to Worlds, so nobody can take anything for granted. As picks and bans for game number 1 between the Solar Scarabs and the Titans begin right now. And a couple of the picks that we talked about on Waiting Room today, Myth, just banned away by the Scarabs. Vulcan, Susano, and Cupid insta-banned. That's left open the set with a 61% win rate.
Yeah, I wonder where this set's going to go, because Boronic just does not scream set player to me. We had a conversation during the Oni Warriors media day, and they had said, well, speaking of Darda specifically, he said, sure, set can be that solo carry for your game, can absolutely start to run away with it, but set is not a god that necessarily creates opportunities. It's more so about hanging back, having perfect positioning, and finding those opportunities to all in when they're given to you by your team. And when I think of Boronic, for the most part, standard mages come to mind, long-range artillery damage comes to mind. Recently, he's been looking a little bit more so towards the hunters. The Cern's been a pick that he's been apt to go towards, but set would be a different look for him. Could be slated for the jungle, could also go to solo. Set's got flex potential, but we'll have to wait a little while on the rest of the draft to get a bit more light shined on what it's going to bring, or where it's going to be bringing it, rather. We know what set brings, and it's a whole lot of damage and a whole lot of dive potential.
All right, Myth, I got 2 stats for you.
Yep.
One, kind of good, kind of bad. One, not great. So the first stat, less earth-shattering. It's just that the Scarabs have lost 6 straight games. 3 straight sets, all of them 2-0. So the Scarabs haven't won a game in the SPL in 3 sets. A 3-game set win just prior to that. This one's a bit more ridiculous. I'm scrolling through here. The Tartarus Titans have not gone to 3, win or lost. They have not won in 3 or lost in 3 since the set right after Masters. August 14th
Really?
was the last 3-game set that the
been a
Titans
while.
have played in, which is SMITE Summer Masters, and then August 14th, which is like a little bit after that, and they have not had a 3-game set since then, win or lose. Those are the Oni Warriors who took them to 3. Have beaten a bunch of teams 2-0, have lost to a handful of teams 2-0. It is one way or the other. It's been a couple of months since we've seen a 3-game set for the Titans. Wonder which of those 2 streaks, if both potentially, could get broken here today. Set Charybdis Kepri. Now Charybdis for the Scarabs, Myth,
Usually it's Boronic.
usually is Boronic. Has played 1 Charybdis game in the last 6, 0-1-1 against the Titans just a few sets ago. So the Titans had the Charybdis answer in that set. Whereas Yark feels like playmaking, Cernanos on her type styles of picks, but also has played a Charybdis game in the past as well. That also against the Titans, just in a different game. So we'll see where the Charybdis ends up landing. On the flip side, though, Ymir, Ishtar, Guan Yu, this has been a popular trio across the league.
Yeah, I've got no complaints about the top three from the Tartarus Titans. They've got strong initiation between Guan Yu and Ymir, Ishtar, flex potential between ADC and mid. Just depends on where you want to toss that pressure. Might be you just want to chase down wherever this set is so you can really leverage some of that 1v1 potential. If you can match your Ishtar up against the set, you've got way better ability to actually, if you are able to establish a lead, leverage it and potentially look for those 1v1s. Whereas Charybdis, for the most part, I mean, we saw it in the previous set. Ishtar up against Charybdis. Panda Cat was kind of dominating lane, but it didn't do him a whole lot of good because Zapman would just hop into the Whirlpool or CC Immunity Ultimate or just walk out of these situations or leverage all that lifesteal that you get from the Devourer's Death Toll build. Very difficult to actually shut down that god. Wouldn't be surprised, though, if it still is Charybdis mid, because that is one of the highest performers for Baronic. That is one of his best performing picks, bar none. He's been able to establish pressure, the ultimates have been landing, and it's very safe. And then when I think of Yarkor on something like a set, that's something I could definitely get behind for the Solar Scarabs. Play through one of your strongest, most consistent players, put him on a hyper carry that can run away with a match. Set fits all those criteria.
I'm going to amend one of those fun facts. The 3-game set that the Titans played in was like the 3rd, 4th place match at SMITE Summer Masters. So this entire phase, the Titans have not had a 3-game set. They've been 2-0'd or done the 2-0ing every single game they've played so far here in Phase 3. So a streaky team, to say the least. We'll catch back up here with the drafts a little bit. Sorry, that stat just kind of blew my mind. That's crazy. Not one 3-game set for these guys yet here in Phase 3. Erlang Shen seen a bit of play. So has the Wheelix. And you get decent knockup here with Xing Chen Myth, Charybdis conditional knockups. Now you get the full 5 of the Solar Scarabs draft. Looks like maybe set mid, Charybdis for Yark. Could also be set ADC if you want Baronic to play the safer pick. But as 5, do you think the Scarabs have a comp that can work?
It's a high execution composition, to be sure. Set needs to have perfect opportunities in 5-on-5 engagements before he's allowed to initiate and actually find value. A Wheelish, the exact same situation. The game becomes so much more difficult for a Wheelish to play in once these teams start to group up. And then when I look at the other side, the Tartarus Titans 5-on-5 is standard across the board. Backline can peel for themselves, great dive potential, healing for longer team fights thanks to that Guan Yu. So the Tartarus Titans will very likely, given the first opportunity, simply group up as 5 and try and force engagements up against the Solar Scarabs around neutral objectives. So have the Solar Scarabs got a composition that could work? Absolutely. But it is very contingent on the early portions of the game. This Wheelish needs to have a good start. This set needs to be primed to get involved in that mid game. The Khepri has got to be on point with these Scarabs blessings, and having your initiation almost entirely tied to just one god. I know Abduct works, right? You're gonna pull one person, but if you're pulling anybody that isn't the Ymir, you're gonna have a Ymir wall right behind you on the Abduct, or Frozen immediately afterward, or all this CC immunity that can be channeled for the Tartarus Titans. So for the most part, when we're talking about consistent team fight starting, it's down to the Xing Shen. That's pretty difficult to leave all at one guy's feet.
Yeah, I want to talk a bit about anti-heal though, Myth, because the Titans, they got a decent bit of sustain there on their side between the Guan Yu, between the Erlang Shen. Soul probably gets a little bit of lifesteal in that build at some point as well. Do you see the necessary applicators of anti-heal here? Do you need applicators of anti-heal in your mind if you're the Solar Scarabs?
I mean, Brawler's Beat Stick, almost certainly, right? Yeah. Like that's an easy pickup for an Wheelish. Feather Step applies it pretty easily, or even the Jaguar, the 3rd ability tossed out. If you're able to clip somebody, should be able to keep some of that anti-heal stacked up. Otherwise, you don't have a Divine Ruin user, not necessarily, unless Xing Shen's going for like a full damage build. So maybe Contagion comes to mind, Pestilence as well, pretty valuable. Ankh, I think, could probably go a pretty long way. Guan Yu and Erlang Shen is enough to dictate picking up anti-heal, and that's not even taking into account the lifesteal from Ishtar and Soul.
Baronic, the one lone member of the original Solar Scarabs, going up against a bunch of his teammates, and now his former coach as the Scarabs and the Titans go into Game 1.
That's right, it's the Blood Feud Part 2. Blood Feud. Between the Solar Scarabs and the Tartarus Titans. As mentioned, Baronic, the last remaining original Solar Scarab member left on this team. We're now 3 of his former teammates throughout the course of these last 2 years of play are now up against him. It's J-Mac, Trelly, and Doug bringing you game number 1 between the Scarabs and the Tartarus Titans. And it will be Baronic on the set mid. It was kind of question on the desk where this set was going to go. Do you throw it onto Yarkor, who's been playing it a little bit in Soul Lane? Do you throw it on Baronic in the mid lane, who hasn't really had much opportunity to play this one up against it? It seems the Scarabs want to put their faith onto Baronic with this set.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I played against Baronic in ranked playing set mid last night. So I'm not sure if he was getting some early practice for the possibility of pulling this out. Maybe new. You're up against the Tartarus Titans. Paul likes this pick. We don't want to ban it away, so we might as well just grab it. Either way, he has piloted it before, not in a competitive setting. I'm just talking about it in that ranked game. So must be able to, land those skewers, that sort of thing. Set, not the most difficult character to pilot, but you have to know when you're able to all in. That's the number one thing. To play set mid, you gotta know when you can find a kill, and you gotta know when it's time to just pop Kingslayer, go in, and try and look for a 100-0 opportunity. Paul on the Soul, though, is something I certainly did not expect. A pick that I've been saying is slept on. I'm glad to see it picked up here, but it doesn't scream to me a Paul character. He just plays just about anything, so it's not like, it's not like, oh my gosh, I don't think Paul can play Soul. Just not something that he's went to too often. I'm sure that he's got a pretty solid Soul nonetheless, though. It's just a very mechanically skilled player, usually able to land all of his abilities and play safe and positioning-wise. But that's something that Layers should be able to facilitate quite well, especially on this Erlong Shen with the early amount of CC that pick brings. Should be just fine, especially with Double Mannequin Scepter.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's not like, oh man, there's no way that he can play it. It's just, we haven't seen it really much as of yet. So we'll see how Paul performs on the Soul. We'll see how Baronic does on the set. Because it almost feels like it's a flip between those two mid laners. Paul has been playing a lot of set. And something that we've gone on record on the desk and the cast of saying, just get Paul off this pick. Stop letting him get set. He's running games with this. Same thing with Baronic, running either the Soul or even potentially Charybdis has been something that's been very successful for him. So just strange positions, strange pickups, and strong damage from Stewart and Aurora onto Yarkor. You see the combo potential that this Ymir Ishtar lane has.
Yeah, Stewart with those lob autos consistently landing onto Yarkor. You don't got to worry about body blocks with that. You can just go right over the minions and consistently look for poke there. And especially with this Khepri, a very big target to hit and very easy target at that. It's not going to be too easy to grab any sort of pressure, and it looks like a possible invade towards the purple buff once it spawns in, just by nature of how much pressure is on the left side of the map. But junglers, both over on right, matching blue buffs, not really worried about the duo lane so far. It looks like it could be a true 50-50 for this one. Hurrywin's got the hog, but we've seen that mess up before. Not going to be the case. Easy purple buff confirmed. Hurrywin's going to take a bit of damage in the process, but the buff's what you're really after in that situation.
Yeah, Hurry's sitting there going, man, I wish I could just press a button and go right under that wall.
Yep.
It must be nice for you, Yarkor, but purple buff does go to the Solar Scarabs on their side of the map. Seems that Stewart will confirm his own on the top side. Junglers haven't gotten too active on the map just yet. Maybe waiting for that level 5 for Layers and Sam to be able to maybe try and find some opportunity in either of these lanes there. For Sam, I mean, where's the best place for this Awelish to maybe try and put some at pressure? Do you try and knock down Paul a peg, try and keep him behind? Do you come over to this dual lane and try and catch maybe the more immobile tank? I mean, if you're Sam, is this dual lane where your best focus might be?
It seems like Sam seems to think so. Not going to be an easy time to try and find a pull, but Stewart looking extremely low, and honestly, looks like Suku might just be able to engage here. It's going to be hard. The slow comes through, and Sam for Soccer can't close that gap. In my mind, duo lane is not going to net an easy kill in any moment, just because of how much safety Stewart and Aurora are going to be having. But there's not too many telegraph ganks you can really go for. I mean, solo lane is going to be difficult as well. The Squan Yu, so much knock-up immunity. Probably hovering around the dual lane in case Stewart and Aurora push up is the call for Sam for Soccer. But without the ultimate, it's not going to be easy to find some aggression here. And here comes Layers right behind Sam.
Level 5 for the jungler of the Titan. Stewart will jolt away. Sam trying to get some damage onto Aurora, but a big double stun, a big double taunt from Layers. Feather Step gets Sam so far as he can, but a pin from Layers. And he needs a little bit more damage, maybe one more shot. But with a blink for Sam for Soccer, that should be the disengage for the jungler of the Scarabs. And he'll make it out. No deaths to be had just yet.
Yeah, all things considered, not a great gank by Sam, but getting out there is massive. Layers certainly should have been able to find a bit more damage. Erlong Shen is taking a ton of nerfs, doesn't really pack the same punch that he used to. It was just not able to find that first blood onto Sam for Soccer. At the very least, pressures him out and loses a bit of golden experience in the process. Not quite level 5 yet on this Awilix, so doesn't have access to the ultimate. Would have helped some DPS, but no real easy applicators for the knockup unless Yarkor is dashing in offensively. You know, it's all up to Saber Sucker on this side of the map. Combo with Scary D could be the play, but again, so much knockup immunity there for Solo Troll on the Guan Yu. Sam's got his work cut out for him. You could tell this Awilix pick was something that he chose to get active early and try and set up some early pressure. It's just not becoming too easy, especially over towards that duo lane.
And so far, it's been netting more positive for the Tartarus Titans, despite the fact the kills haven't gone anywhere. Experience dead even, but 1,000 gold that has slowly been sloping towards the Tartarus Titans' advantage. Now with everybody getting their first back and their first items, SOT going for a little bit more of a defensive option. The Fade Blessed Hoops picked up for himself, so shields with those heals. Meanwhile, Scary D going for a more offensive route with this Xingqian. We've been seeing it a little bit more often with these solo lane Guardians opting to go towards this Book of Thoth, even just in general, these tanks going a little bit more damage-oriented early on.
You telling me that SOT gets shields with his heals?
Shields on heals.
That's a big deal. And we're going to see a little bit of aggression over here with Stewart and Yark going for the true boxing match. I was wondering if we'd see a little bit of aggression from Layers, was hovering around the Gold Fury, but probably realized Hurrywin was nearby and didn't want to try and gamble with a Scarabs Blessing, so left for that gank and is just going to go for the Oracles in that regard. It doesn't seem like Sanford Soccer is going to spend any more time on the left side of the map for the time being. Blue buff is going to be spawning here shortly, and you don't want to let your soul laner get behind. But now, Hurrywin might be in a bit of trouble. Lots of CC here for this Khepri.
Some light swords go through. The ultimate is good, but Hurrywin still gets clipped by the Supernova as soon as he respawns in. It's Stewart, the Tartarus Titans' new hunter, picking up first blood on his former teammates.
Yeah, that's cold, Stu. You're really going to get first blood on your former teammates. Sanford Soccer shows up. I don't think that you guys win this fight. I got to be honest. Even with the ultimate, the cavalry charge should be a pretty easy disengage, especially with both those ults down. And Solo Troll, he was going in. He also felt like he didn't lose that fight too hard. But his blue buff not going to be spawning in quite yet. And with both ultimates down, Solar Scarabs don't feel like they can go for that blue buff either.
Actually just thought of it. The kill they got was on the one person on that team that Stewart didn't play with, because Yarkor was his support whenever he was over there, so at least the newest member of the Scarabs roster.
Okay, so Stu shouldn't feel too bad.
Yeah, Stewart doesn't care about that. He said, oh, that's just Hurrywin. I used to have to play against him when he was on the Dragons. It's just another day in the office, and it's another day in the office for the Titans as they steal away the purple buff from the Solar Scarabs, and Aurora's just going to go ahead and try and maybe take some offerings, get scared away by Hurrywin. Veronica's here, gets some damage to the skewer, but the Gauntlet of Thebes makes Aurora very tanky, even with the pull-in by Hurrywin. Bronic actually pops the Kingslayer. Still has some kill potential. Aurora should go down with this damage.
Wow.
Not in time by Stewart. Instead, now it's going to be Layers to go for a cleanup kill, a support for support. But now that Sanford Soccer's here, the double taunt in by Layers to save Stewart's life. But Paul has joined the fray. It is a bloodbath inside of the jungle. Paul picks up the first kill. Scary D rotating over with SOT. We're just having a full-on feud in the midst of the jungle as 2-for-2 trade goes through, but SOT on the cavalry charge, chasing out Baronic, gets the beads away, but SOT doesn't care about beads. A double kill for the solo of the Titans, and maybe one more. Paul needs one auto on Scary D to make this, was it a 4-for-2?
That was a huge rotation. Looks like SOT's not done yet. He stops Sanford Soccer. The Talu Assault isn't enough. He's going to have to stall for the dash, for an auto attack. He doesn't want to tank this up for too long, and Sam doesn't have Blink. Where's Stewart?
Stewart was getting a camp, and SOT's like, dude, we have a free kill here. SOT 3-0 on the Guan Yu to start this game. We are 9 minutes in, and SOT is tower diving tier 1 of duo lane.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say a massive rotation from Scary D, but SOT was able to upgrade that teleport and also make that rotation over. If you take a look at the kills, I would argue it worked out a bit better for SOT personally, just a little bit. I'll take the triple kill over the assist and dying once there for Scary D. But wow, what? I mean, over nothing, by the way. There was no Fury pulled. Pyromancer's not even spawned. It was just, hey, there's some aggressive fighting over here. You guys want to brawl? Scarabs say yes. And the Titans, they didn't care. They decided they were going to fight that. And 3 kills over to SOT.
That was a fight that Baronic picked. That was a fight that Baronic and Hurrywin said, yeah, we want to kill Aurora. We want to chase this far into enemy territory. And then the Titans obliged and just decided, okay, well, you killed our support. It's only fair that maybe we take out your support. And all of a sudden, the Soul Laners decided, man, it's really boring over here on our side. It's Guan versus Xing Chen. What if we just get active and teleport over and have some fun ourselves?
I mean, what I hated about that fight, and it's one of the things you have to watch out for when you're playing Set, is without your Sandstorm, you lose so much value on Kingslayer. You need the constant tick damage for the heals, for the spawning of the clones. They were able to kill Aurora, but it took a lot longer, and the safety was just not quite there. Now the Pyromancer is going to be started up by the Titans, but Scary D is here looking to do some damage. That's going to be the end of the Pyromancer pull, but at least throwing some pressure over towards the right side of the map. The Tartarus Titans, they've got about a 2.5k gold lead, and they're not too afraid to go for an objective.
Now, when you've got double Mannequin Scepter as well between Layers and Paul, objective should go down pretty quickly, though. Paul going for a much more mage-oriented style of build that we've been seeing kind of started up by Barracuda when he was playing it over in the dual lane. Now that we've been seeing Soul go towards the mid, it's kind of becoming a little bit more popular. Bancroft's into the Book of Thoth. Get things going early, a lot of early power for this Soul that will transition pretty well late game. But with all this auto attack power that's been built up by the Tartarus Titans, I mean, you have this Erlong, you have a Soul, you have an Ishtar. Does that make Scary D on the Xing Chen much more valuable of a pickup for the Scarabs?
It certainly does. You have to hold that thought. Looks like the freeze off the Margnyar core. Not afraid at all. Certainly does. If Scary D's able to get to the backline, consistently hitting that furious roar, all of these auto attackers are going to feel, you know, the weight of how little damage they really are doing while that ability is procced. But probably the reason that Paul is building so much ability damage to not have to worry about his auto attacks. You can just use Stellar Burst, Supernova, get a one-shot as Moronic takes a ton of damage. That was just a little bit of burst there from Layers. You got to feel confident going for the Fury now. Just the duo lane of the Scarabs is sitting by. Sam and Scary D, I imagine, pull the Pyromancer, and that is going to be the call.
Hurry when nearby. We've seen Khepri steals with Rising Dawn before.
Whoa!
And he did it again!
He did it!
I spoke it into existence, apparently. Hurrywin will die. But
18 damage!
Out-confirmed a Supernova and whatever other abilities got. I was just, bringing up the fact it's happened. I wasn't trying to will it into existence, but apparently I did, Trelly.
Well, in waiting room, you said the Levi's and the Dragons had to go
no,
game
it's gonna
3.
be this all day.
And then today you said that the Rising Dawn can steal the gold for. Any more predictions you got? I mean, if you got anything for us, now's the time to prove your clairvoyance.
All right, we're gonna see a quadra kill this game. I'm not gonna say who, but we're gonna see a quadra kill start up on this one. Maybe it'll be by the Titans, tier 2 under fire. A lot of damage thrown out to Moronic. He gets revived. Scary D only picks up a roar and throws him into the tower. That's a nice and easy pickup for the Scarabs. The Sunlight Swords pull back in, but Stewart doesn't get the value. Watch your core. Finds the double kill, and now a turn back around. SOT off the horse, and only finds the stun onto Yarkor. He'll throw out a few auto attacks. Yarkor swinging pretty hard for himself. Has that tide searched up. Does find the slow on SOT, but good sustain is keeping the Tartarus Titans alive. And a blink out by Scary D means the Solar Scarabs will disengage.
I could see you sweating there. If Yarkor got the quadra,
I was so nervous.
The SWAT team would have busted down the doors immediately. They're like, wait a second, we got to check this guy's computer or something. Great answer back there for the Solar Scarabs, though. They were able to stop that tier 2, and it still stands tall, by the way. That tier 2 tower did not go down, so the gold, definitely a swing in favor of the Solar Scarabs. Still going to be the lead that the Tartarus Titans are after, but off the back of Hurrywin stealing a Gold Fury, Sanford Soccer and Scary D grabbing that Pyromancer, and then a bit of a boxy fight underneath the tier 2. You got to be pretty happy if you're the Solar Scarabs. You're able to answer back a ton of gold in that process.
Scary D. Old for old on SOT, that's not going to matter too much for them. Typical solo lane shenanigans to be had, at the very least. Sam, keeping pace with Layers, and that's always the important part, because as of recent sets, we kind of been seeing this downward trend of Sam where he's trying to get so many fights going that he ends up falling behind on his farm game, but I guess with Layers also trying to maybe get those fights started up a little bit for his team is also not been able to get too much of a lead as far as that's concerned. Paul and Aurora will go ahead and clean up the tier 2 tower, so now nothing left for Moronic in that mid lane except for a Phoenix as his only safe haven now.
Yeah, that's going to be some extra gold you definitely want in your pockets. And Hurrywin can't steal that away. So the gold going to be jumping back in. I mean, it was always in favor of the Tartarus Titans, but being able to close up that much, props to the Solar Scarabs. Now, since both of these objectives are going to be down for a bit, probably back to the farm game, just trying to push out ways and look for any avenues you can to get aggressive. Layers never one to shy away from a gank attempt, especially when there's no objectives available, so I'm keeping my eyes on that Erlong Shen, but also Sanford Soccer has been able to find some gravity surges, some pulls in the midst of these team fights, usually off the back of Scary D with that axe. But there is some combo potential here from the Solar Scarabs. Paul's beads down for another 27 seconds. Probably not the best target, though. I mean, that Soul's 3-0, and she does a lot of damage, especially if you try to get within melee range.
Yeah, going in towards that Typhon's Fang right after the Book of Thought. Paul nearly stacked up on that item, so he'll be hitting a little bit harder once that one is finally finished up there. Tartarus Titans, as you mentioned, even with all this fighting, even the fact that they did knock a tier 2 tower down, this gold lead isn't anything too crazy. 1,300, highest point it's been. A little over 2K just earlier on, but the Scarabs able to mitigate a lot of that with that fight at the tier 2, 900 gold separating teams. I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is a very even game 16 minutes in, considering the start that both SOT and Paul have had. I mean, both of them at 3-0, but neither of them with any significant lead. In fact, SOT is falling slightly behind Scary D.
Yeah, if a kill onto one of them actually goes through, the shutdown would be immense, and I think that would open up a lot of doors for the Solar Scarabs. So if I'm Sanford Soccer, I'm looking towards Paul, I'm looking towards SOT, and just saying, like, hey, we can't kill them right now. But if their positioning ever goes a little bit too far, if we ever have an opening, trying to force that shutdown would be absolutely massive. But Paul, ever the farmer, is able to grab that Typhon's Fang, and I assume look towards either some more pen or upgrading that Bancroft's Claw has been the call before. But the Oni Fury spawns in here shortly, and the Solar Scarabs are not going to let any unnecessary pressure towards this side of the map. Hurrywin's sitting by, possibly looking to get aggressive, abduct off the mark onto a roar. So we're not going to see anything just yet. But SOT sends the Trebuchet out and right, and then is going to head over to the Oni Fury. I was going to say, they're going to be man down for quite some time, but has to teleport just in case the Scarabs go for a pull.
Put off the mark by Hurrywin. Very aggressive ward. At least a sentry ward thrown over behind the pit of the Oni Fury. Has respawned in. Hurrywin stole it last time with 18 damage on Rising Dawn.
And that's just easy.
And that's just free for Hurrywin. That's all completely calculated. Knew exactly how many ticks of Supernova you have to wait it out before it would actually confirm the damage.
I could see him counting it, putting that engineering degree to use.
Oh yeah, you can see it in his face too. He is calculating every single step that he's taken. I bet you he's counted how many steps he has taken in this game. How many wards they've had to fight over now. They're going to lose this one because SOT stands on top of it. And the Titans with 3 around the pit, 2 in mid. Could have gone for a pincer, but let the Scares back away. But Oni Fury pulled by the Titans. Means it's going to have to be a quick engage for the Scares. That Fury is going down fast. Has not been leashed yet. Supernova by Paul will zone Scary or Sanford Soccer away. But Scary D in the back line gets a few beats, but Pironic goes down to the damage of the Sunlight Swords from Stewart. And now Scary D on the run. The spread shot doing good damage. SOT blocked by his own teammate's wall, but Scary D will get the revive. Proc back up. And onto the Cavalry he goes. Chase him on down. Stun Scary D. Take him out with the help of Layers.
Yeah, the chase down. Hurrywin body blocked, and it's going to be falling down there as well. The Oni Fury doesn't drop, but this pathing tells me that the Tartarus Titans might be feeling more confident to go for a Fire Giant. Paul is not going to be over there at the moment. 18 minutes in. Yarkor is sitting around the right side of the map as well. It's going to be the immediate recall here for Paul. Sanford Soccer and Yark could definitely try and stop this. They've got the movement. They can get there in time. Yark has the Maw as well. A good timed ultimate could be the steal potential, or just trying to do some DPS, but this is going so fast.
Fire Giant half. Yarkor zoned away by SOT. No chance that this Hunter makes it in, but maybe Sanford Soccer. Blink is up. He goes in. But the Tartarus Titans will not only grab the Fire Giant, but they will as well pick off Sanford Soccer. He is in the grayscale for 35 seconds, and Yarkor may just join him. Not enough damage from SOT, but maybe with Stewart and Aurora nearby in a wall to help out. SOT makes it back to the safety of his team. It's Fire Giant around all 5 of the Titans.
Yeah, SOT saw that meditation ticket and realized probably can't kill Yark anymore. underneath that Phoenix and actually wasted the beads in the process, just making sure that he gets out. I guess didn't waste it, he lived, so worth in that sense. So SFT lives to see another day, and the Tartarus Titans, they said, we're not going for the Oni Fury, not when the Solar Scarabs are on. We don't want to go for any steals. We're just going to push you out, win the fight, and then go for the Fire Giant after the fact. So now Fire Giant on 5, as the Solar Scarabs have a split second to pull this. The rest of the Titans are on the way. They need to pull it and get out, and it is not burning quick.
Paul and Stewart are already there. Oni Fury is close. Stewart goes out with the ultimate. Oh, but the damage returned back to Baronic. Will that make the Oni Fury worth it? I'm not sure, because so far it's going to be 2 down. Hurry Wind on revive. Will be shot down by Stewart. Sam for Soccer, stunned by SOT, picked off by Layers. That's 3 for an Oni, and I'm sure at the end of the day, the Solar Scarabs are not too happy with that trade.
Yeah, definitely not. Sanford Soccer just wanted to grab some extra farm in mid lane, but Layers and Sot said there's no free farm for you. You don't get to split push while your team dies. We're also going to chase you down with the cavalry charge. Still has access to 9 turns blessing though, so Layers has a pretty solid team fight ultimate available, as well as Shards of Ice. But not going to be looking for any fighting just yet. More so focused on the tier 2 tower, and left the last of the tier 2 towers the Tartarus Titans are able to knock down. And Sanford Soccer is still gone for about 8 seconds, so you gotta imagine maybe just dipping the toes in the water. SOT gonna lead the charge.
SOT at the front line. Hurry Wind losing about a quarter of his health. Scaredy goes to the back line. Ultimate will only pick up SOT, throws him back. Hurry Wind's gonna grab him, bring him a little bit closer. Triple stun and big damage goes through. SOT takes down Scaredy. Paul grabs Hurry Wind. And there's only 3 Solar Scarabs left. Make that only 2, because Paul has found the double kill. Baronic rooted in place, and the damage from SOT is too much. It's a double for him, a double for Paul. It's only Yarkor left alive to defend against the Titan. And it's not gonna be enough. His Titan is not stronger than the might of the 5 Tartarus Titans. 3 for Paul, 2 for SOT, and game 1 to the Tartarus Titans.
19-4. I mean, this game seemed a little bit closer than that, but once that fight at the Oni Fury came through, and once the Fire Giant came through as well, that's when we really saw the scales tip in favor of the Tartarus Titans. They were never really worried about the actual fight. It was just the objective pull. 1 being stolen away by Hurry Wind, 1 being grabbed by Sanford Soccer over on the opposite side of the map. After that, the actual fight, the kills. I mean, SOT got pulled in, was surrounded by 4. And then it almost looked like he got healed. I mean, they just were not able to burn through this Guan Yu. Paul goes 7-0. The Soul doing so much burst damage. Being able to kill Yark in the well this early on is absurd. It was like a level differential. It wasn't like that hard. And that is a difficult task to be able to go for.
I mean, the last time the Solar Scarabs were able to find themselves a kill was on that tier 2 tower defense. That was the last kill they were able to strike. Tartarus Titans find game number 1. Can they keep up the momentum for game 2? We'll find out right after this.
Time's out, run out to use those big words, yeah. I don't need convincing at all because I know what I want. Baby, dig deep, it's time to make a move on my heart. What's it gonna take for you to love, take for you to love me? What's it gonna take for you to show, take for you to show feels, yeah. I've been trying to take it slow, but my patience low. Think it's time you let me know. There was something we were fighting about. Can't remember it, can't recall at all. Something about my mind, something wasn't right, something about me. You always win, you always get away. No matter how much pain you cause, I stay. I'm always left behind, lonely in the night. It's so dark, can see the light. But babe, I got a lonely heart, and I don't wanna be apart. I just wanna be with you. I always wanna be with you, my love. Babe, I got a lonely heart, and I don't wanna be apart. I just wanna be with you, my love. Oh, oh, oh. You, my love. You, my love. You, my love. You, my love. There was something you were screaming about, but I closed my ears cause I don't wanna hear it anymore. God, it's always something about me, never something about you, always something about me, only me. What's up with that? What's up with that? Have you ever asked yourself, what's up with that? Oh baby, why won't you take a good look at yourself and stop blaming me? When I just wanna be with you. You, my love. You, my love. You, my love. You, my love. Babe, I got a lonely heart, and I don't wanna be apart. I just wanna be with you. I always wanna be with you, my love. Babe, I got a lonely heart.
Solar Scarabs looking a bit like Kuzenbo at the end of that video there after game number 1, wallowing around on the ground after Titans steamroll them down the stretch. This one, if I've said something that is Mifflin feeling like it was a bit too much, maybe I've gone too far. He'll say the same thing, but in a more analytical way here in just a moment, because game 1, after the opening trades here, Miff, not heavily competitive. It feels like the Solar Scarabs team still searching for identities, still searching for cohesion as a squad, and the Titans have a bit more headway in that department.
There were a couple key moments in that game from the Solar Scarabs that were frustrating for me as a viewer, because it is so clear that these guys are not on the same page. I'm thinking back to Hurrywin's first kill. He essentially had to catch somebody thrice because Baronic just kept walking away from an engagement. It's just tough stuff, man. The Solar Scarabs legitimately look lost. Why is Sanford Soccer hovering in a duo lane for an entire minute and a half at level 4? What's going on with that? Why are we having, you know, these hyper carries not go towards your hyper carry players? Things along those lines. The Solar Scarabs still certainly struggling to find an identity. The Tartarus Titans, I think, go untested in this game.
Yeah.
I would almost say that this is almost exactly just mechanics gap across the map. Like every fight, they were just hitting their buttons and they were hitting them more consistently. Silver linings do exist for the Solar Scarabs. I thought Yarkor had a phenomenal individual performance. I don't think I've seen that many Charybdis ultimates land in a game just about ever. Usually that button is the, hey, I need some CC immunity right now and some movement speed, but Yarkor was using it aggressively, put up some pretty good damage numbers. Outside of that, not a whole lot of praise to be sung.
Yep, this was a tough one for players, fans of the Solar Scarabs. Damage numbers don't give you much more to go off of, except to your point, Miff. Yark did second most damage in the game, highest GPM on his team.
That's got to be incredibly frustrating for Yarkor to get to the post game and see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, you're doubling up anyone on your team. You're doing better than 2/3 of the opposing team, just behind Stewart on the Tartarus Titans. So it's an ADC battle. Look, I don't know with the Solar Scarabs team, because think about it. They've got Worlds MVPs on this team. They've got 3 Worlds winners on this team. So and we know that Hurrywind has played in the SPL, and Boronic has had some really good looks in the SPL. And so it's about finding out how all those pieces work together that the Scarabs haven't been able to do just yet, because they have the pieces, you'd think. But it feels like every team at this point in the SPL, most of them have Worlds winners. Most of the teams in the SPL at this point have guys who have been there and done that over the course of 8-9 years of SMITE. A lot of players in the league have lifted that hammer, and so there's a lot of conversations, I think, to be had around the Scarabs team. But remember, for Sam and this team in the pregame interview, the eyes were set towards improvement and practice. I think this team feels like top 6 is a stretch. It's about preparing to be one of the last 4 teams to qualify into Worlds from the group stages early in January. It would be amazing if they could start a win streak. You'd need a turnaround in this set and then a complete turnaround down the rest of the phase, but getting better with each game is what the Scarabs team have slated for themselves. Because really, when you get to Worlds, anyone has a chance. We've had some crazy World storylines. So that's game 1. We'll see if game 2 looks any better for the Solar Scarabs. I'm not sure the Titans could look much better. I mean, any game where you drop a few deaths, I suppose there's room for improvement, but very clean come grouping and team fighting phase.
Is the improvement for the Titans to just blank the Scarabs?
That's the only way you can improve, right?
I guess, and legitimately the deaths the Titans took in game 1 were because they decided to like tier 2 tower dive at like the 8-minute
There
mark.
was the one where Hurry abducted someone on the Titans like 4 times in a row.
Yeah, that was the play. I was talking to some guys about it. If I'm on the team, I'm pausing the game to yell at Boronic in that moment. Because it was an abduct, and then I look around, I'm looking at the screen, I'm like, where's the follow-up? Boronic was right there.
Yeah.
He had fully disengaged, had to re-engage, extends the chase, and then because he does that, the kill goes to Hurrywind. Just not great.
But again, if you're looking for tangible, okay, Dave, you say the Scarabs need to improve. What are some areas they can improve? That's a fantastic look at one. Lines of communication. Knowing what teams and teammates are expecting to do in certain moments. That all just gets better with practice and with time. You're hoping the Scarabs have enough time to clean some of that up prior to qualifiers, prior to Worlds. We'll jump into picks and bans here. The bans already rolled through. Ishtar plus Vulcan, that's about as good as it gets in carry and mid in the current meta. Of course, some plug-and-play options for either of those two, but the Titans very happy. On the flip side, Miff, we don't get to see a lot of Yamoja. We'll see what Hurrywind can get done on the pick here in Game 2.
Yeah, I think in a world where Beads and Aegis in conjunction isn't allowed, Yamoja gets like a stray nerf in that there's probably just going to be a lot more shells on map that can just be phantom shells. That's not to say that Yamoja still isn't valuable. She certainly is. She'll control a bit of your gold spending throughout the mid-game if you're forced to upgrade into the phantom shell path early on. Also a very safe pick that can establish pressure in the lane. Whether or not it's a valuable enough god that I want to give up Ishtar and Vulcan, I don't exactly think that's the case. Yamoja's certainly strong, but relative value, I think the Titans might have come out ahead.
Oh man, I love this part. So exciting.
And you mentioned hyper carries, Miff. When Sam was playing for the Dragons, Mercury was a pick that the Dragons would lean on a good bit. Mixed success. The Scarabs are hoping their jungler can skyrocket here in this game and get some crit online. Plus then the On Her pick. But are you sold, Miff? Are you sold on the On Her?
No, I think On Her is...
Was that what the nose pinch was?
Yeah, a Mercury this early in your draft, I think an interesting decision, and I'm using that in the caster way, and that I don't think you really need to go Mercury this high up in your composition. Very likely you could have just 10th picked that, and it still would have been the same. On her, I mean, it's an aggressive hunter and one that can potentially find solo kills if Yarkor feels like he needs to make his impact early and has to do it in the lane. On her, certainly a pick that is capable of it. Wheelish, though, as a counter matchup, has decent matchup in a Yamoja. The Riptide puts anybody in Gravity Surge. On her's got an individual leap, so Gravity Surge there. You've got a consistent knock-up from the Vulcan, so even easier to execute on than the Wheelish was for the Solar Scarabs in the previous game. I'm not in love with the composition from the Solar Scarabs just yet. I think that individual pieces might be able to make this a bit easier. You need a high-pressure mid laner, someone that can just operate on their own so that this Mercury is allowed to sit in the jungle and continually farm up. You've got a pretty decent pressure duo lane, assuming this on her is headed for duo. Get a pressure soul lane and pray that Sanford Soccer is just your win condition in the late. It's worked in the past. I'm not so certain that the Tartarus Titans are going to allow that to happen. They brought the pressure very early, and when they tend to get a lead, they bring it into the jungle. So Mercury could struggle to just straight up level up in this game, but that's not exactly a pressure mid laner, so he's going to need the help from his Mercury. And I'm not even particularly certain what the game plan is anymore for this Solar Scarabs composition. I mean, top to bottom, are you late game slanted? If that's the case, why is it an on her? Are you looking to set up your Kukulkan? What do you got? Like a Sonic Boom and a Spear of the Nine Winds? I mean, I guess.
Dazzling offensive.
Dazzling offensive? I guess.
River's Rebuke.
Yeah, I mean,
Phantom Shells.
it's the look. River's Rebuke's the size of a lane, so that's not exactly helping you land Kukulkan ultimates. And Kukulkan.
Now you put it perpendicular to the lane. Now you're talking.
Yeah, all that. Exactly, Dave.
I'm finding those silver linings, but
And they're
really
so
tracking.
silver, these linings.
If you had to guess my star sign,
You're probably well, I find that the extroverted people, like, what is it, astrology? People that are
Yeah.
into it, they say that you would be a fire sign, but I feel like you're probably like a Gemini.
I'm an Aries, and Titans have
You
one
are a
of
fire
those.
sign.
Titans have one of those as well. And so the Tartarus Titans pick Aries for the first time this phase, Meph. Where's the value in this pick?
It's got cripples. It's got a whole lot of damage. If you think you're just going to mechanics diff everybody else on the map, I mean, Ares is exactly that. Aurora could just walk at you and find solo kills around level 6. If the pacing in Game 2 is anything like it was in Game 1, Ares is just going to dominate. Has good chase potential into the Kukulkan. There's individual picks that are really going to struggle with the no escape. Kukulkan in particular doesn't have CC immunity inherent to the kit. Will likely have it forced pretty easily, the beads that is. Jing Shen can take him off. Ares might take him off. A Wheelish could do the exact same thing, and they've got great ways to make use of those burnt beads. I don't love it. I don't love the draft.
Meph,
for
I
the
want
Solar
you to tell me. I
Scarabs.
want you to tell me one good thing about the Scarabs draft that you're excited about.
Yamoja.
All right, fair enough. And if Hurrywin can outplay the opponents, then Yamoja ends up being a really good pick. The
That's right.
problem being, top to bottom, it feels like, outside of Ares, which is a bit unique, feels like the Titans have just drafted straight from exactly what they and the rest of the league likes to play, while also having a very, very cohesive team composition from what we've seen. Xing Chen provides some possibility for a Wheelish as well. I think Layers maybe poised Myth to have a pretty big game here.
I think so, and he's got great targets to jump on early. A Wheelish up against Mercury at like first item. A Wheelish wins that. She's got great rotations towards the on her. Kukulkan for the most part, as long as you've got a bit of help nearby and a knock-up from Vulcan's all the help you're really going to need, could throw out your pressure there. I think that Layers could certainly find a good pace to this game. And even if he doesn't, even if Layers decides to go for like one of those free ride games like we saw from the Guan Yu last week, so long as he's standing nearby and threatening Gravity Surge, that's pretty valuable.
I think if we want to find areas for the Titans and where they can grow a little bit, I think Layers has played good Smite here recently, good enough to keep the Titans competitive, but not since like middle of October when we saw the Titans and the Scarabs play last time. Haven't seen a big blowout Layers performance in a little while. Maybe this could be the game where it happened. Solar Scarabs trying to find some cohesion. Tartarus Titans want to make it a 2-0. We'll see what happens in game number 2.
And it's a big one for the Solar Scarabs. They need to find themselves a win here to keep their chances alive. They're currently sitting at the bottom of the standings at that 8th seed. Tartarus Titans, if they can find themselves a win, keeps that 2-0 streak of theirs going. That's been going all phase long. It's J-Mac, Charlie, and Doug once again for game number 2 now with the Solar Scarabs and the Tartarus Titans. Now, I'll throw this one over towards you a little bit, Charlie. Mifflin wasn't too happy about the draft that was picked up here by the Solar Scarabs. What are some of your thoughts about this initial draft for the team?
I disagree a bit with the sentiment that, you know, this is a bad draft. I understand that these picks themselves are not in the meta and are not strong, but the Solar Scarabs, to me, are leaning back on picks they feel comfortable, hon. Whether they are good or not, seems that they've thrown that out the window. They're like, hey, I like Cuckoo. Let's play Cuckoo. Like, he might not be good, but Baronic likes Cuckoo. That seems to be the call here. Now, whether or not that works out is, of course, up to how the Solar Scarabs play it, but it seems to me like they have just fallen back on what they know and thrown meta out the window. And if Sam for Soccer can have a pop-off performance on Mercury, who cares if Merc's not good? Sam's trying to make him look good. With that being said, their late game does not look the greatest, especially with Yarkor on the on-her, but if you're trying to get aggressive, if you're trying to bully out Stewart in this lane, then on-her is great. You know, I can see where the Solar Scarabs are going, but I also understand the concern that Mifflin was voicing on the desk as well.
Kukulkan's something, as you highlight, that's worked for Baronic really well. Sam used to have this pick banned from him, even when it wasn't a meta pick. Then when it became meta, Sam definitely didn't get to get his hands on it. Scary D just likes going to this Amaterasu when backs against the wall. So definitely feels like a comfort draft by the Scarabs. Cohesion aside, we'll see how that works for them in the early skirmish. That Totem Maku didn't even get to last like a second and a half before it got shut down. It goes to the Solar Scarab, so at least a little bit of an early boost for them. A little bit of golden pocket. Jump in by Yarkor towards Aurora, but Aurora not too concerned. He didn't have that impale from Yarkor ready to go just yet. So pushed under the initial tower is the Tartarus Titans. I'm sure that they're willing to continue and keep that fight going.
Yeah, and I think this is the call from the Scarabs, right? Just fight as much as you can in the early. I mean, try and find value out of this on-her pick before it's too late. But you're up against an Ares, and once level 2 comes through, you're going to see damage numbers like that come out. The chains from Aurora are almost always going to be connecting. I've got my eyes on layers, though. It looks like a possible early rotation from this Awilix. But because of the sustain from Hurrywind and also the aggression that Yarkor can provide, should be just fine as long as they don't push up too far in lane. Giving over that Interceptor to Layers. Layers can stick around for a second, but wants to go back to farming. Seems to be the call here for the jungler.
It does feel like Layers has a much better opportunity to find some of the picks with that Gravity Surge. Obviously has his own knockup within his kit, but then SOT and Paul to provide some. SOT is going to need help. Silence thrown against the wall. Before he can even hit the ground, he's put immediately into the dirt. Solar Scarabs, the ones who pick up the first blood off an aggressive play by Sam towards the right side.
Yeah, well-timed silence by Scary D. You can't leap over anything if you're just CC chained, and the silence into the grab is going to be all that the Solar Scarabs needed to confirm that first blood. Teleport gets used, and well, once again we're seeing this build where it's Conduit Gem into Book of Thoth. I wouldn't be surprised at level 5 if Sam for Soccer comes back. That's a very easy 1-2 kill onto this Xing Chen before, of course, you get access to the Whirlwind of Radiant Steel. That extra CC immunity is going to help. But if Sod is paying attention, could leap over the Sonic Boom. You know, there is some ways to try and survive in that situation. All really about Scary D trying to put Sod into combat, or at very least silence out that leap before it can come through.
But even with the death on SOT, he does not seem deterred one bit against Scary D. In fact, still keeping this Ama under the tier 1 tower, still keeping up that pressure on that Soul Lane Guardian. Feels like it's going to be fairly quiet in dual lane until we maybe see a rotation from Layers, as he is now. A couple of even better opportunities for Layers. I didn't even think about it. But that Riptide from the Umoja can accidentally set up people to be pulled in by that Gravity Surge. But until Layers hits level 5, still safe in some of these lanes. Impale actually right off the jolt. Good from Yarkor to prevent that second bit of damage from Stewart.
Yeah, taking a lot of poke underneath this tower. Probably a little bit worried about hitting over to level 5 could be the option. Once Stewart and Aurora get access to that ultimates, you know, there could be a pretty static engine. So look at Sam for Soccer, though. He's charging up Sonic Boom from downtown. Who's going to be his target? I imagine Aurora, and it connects.
Stun onto Aurora, throwback, right into a Made You Look. One chain hits, but Sam for Soccer comes up with his first kill of the game. Now the Solar Scarabs with 2 to themselves. And about an 800 or so gold lead, but keep your eyes on Layers. He's rotating over. Level 5 for the Awilish, but not willing to make a jump in towards lane. So it'll just be the Solar Scarabs putting up 2.
Yeah, Layers doesn't want to get involved in a situation like that when you're going to be fighting a man down. And ultimates weren't really used. Of course, Sam for Soccer's was, but still had access to River's Rebuke, still had access to the Desert Fury. That's a lot of damage. And then a tier 2 Mace Awilix does not want to deal with that. So once this first item comes through, the Jotun's Wrath for Layers, maybe you're feeling a little bit more confident in a situation like that. But either way, the farm game certainly in favor of the Solar Scarabs as of recent. Boronic has just been clearing waves consistently, trying to get that Book of Thoth. Now that it's online, we're going to see a lot more damage coming from the Cuckoo, of course. It's one of the best item god combos we have in the game. And if those ults are consistently landing, Paul could be in some trouble. But I'm just going to keep my eyes on this Mercury. Whenever Sonic Boom is up, I want to see Sam trying to push this lead. Fast track the late game, get some crit online. That's the Mercury style of play we love to watch.
You know, speaking of Paul, we might have to hold on that conversation for a moment, though. Layers jumps away from the river. Aurora finds 2, finds the 3rd chain. SOT taking a lot of damage, though. He'll have to back away to the tier 1 tower. But Paul going for a bit of a weird start compared to what we normally see. Now, the Soul made sense for him to go into a Bancroft early, get some lifesteal to go along with your auto attacks. But Paul's going towards it again. Sonic Boom by Sam, an ultimate from Boronic does. Met take down Layers, so that's another kill for the Solar Scares. Maybe an extra one onto Aurora. He walks through the tornado, avoids the stun, but is being body blocked. Good meatball. Will separate a little bit, but it's another kill for Sam for Soccer. All 4. And the jungler has been there to help out with each one.
Yeah, beautiful ultimate there from Sam for Soccer and Boronic, able to pick up some more kills. And Aurora goes down for the 2nd time this game. Paul on the Bancrofts, though, that's just traditional Paul. It's been a while since we've seen it, but the Hebo Bancrofts days we saw a fair bit. Would build hell that way before Book of the Dead meta, that sort of thing. I think he just loves this item and is glad that it's back in meta, so he can just go for this style of play. It's going to help you out with a bunch of damage, as well as if you go into that Bancroft's Claw, going to supply you some safety as well. This is just a build that he loved to go through back when he was a rookie and first joined the SPL. And so I think he's just happy that Bancroft is back in the meta so that he can go for something like that. Scary D up. Scary D doesn't have the Feather Step, and that's going to be enough from the first kill for the Tartarus Titans.
Titans now finally on the board off the back of Layers' rotation to right. 1,500 gold up for the Solar Scarabs to start this game out. Best position they've been in so far this set. In fact, they've actually tied the same kills that they had in game number 1 already immediately. So a much better look from the Scarabs to get game number 2 going for themselves. And as kind of mentioned, Tartarus Titans so far this entire phase have yet to go to a game 3 in any of their sets. We're through, what, like 8 or 9 sets that these guys have played now, and every single one has either been a 2-0 for the Titans or a 2-0 for whoever the Titans were facing at that point. Maybe the Scarabs, a team notorious throughout their history for going to game 3, could send us right there with a CC chain to oblivion onto SOT. Second verse, same as the first, just like the previous rotation to solo lane, he was put down the same way.
You can't tell me that like a tier 2 breastplate before the Book of Thoth wouldn't have solved a fair bit of these problems that SOT is having. I get it.
I could tell you, but
you solo laners, you want to get your damage online, you want to be swinging, you don't want to just, you know, be hitting for like with a wet noodle in the early damage. You're just not doing enough. But I mean, if Sot's got breastplate, I'm sure he's able to get Whirlwind of Rage of Steel off there. Finally was able to back and get tier 2 breastplate, but not enough to save himself in that engagement. And another kill goes over to Scary D. 2 for Scary D and 2-0 for Sam for Soccer. Doesn't quite have that rage stacked up yet, or I mean, not even purchased, so we can start getting stacks on it. But once that comes through, it's going to help out a ton in the DPS department, as well as cementing a very solid late game here for the Solar Scarabs. But I think what Mifflin touched on the desk is still extremely true. The Tartarus Titans don't have to be worried about this little of a gold lead. They don't have to be worried because their late game still looks extremely solid. They've got Double Guardian Indage with an Ishtar and a Vulcan in the backline. Like they shouldn't be too worried about the situation. The Solar Scarabs need to keep getting aggressive, and they need to keep trying to force as much as possible. Sam for Soccer has not let this Sonic Boom go off cooldown for very long, and I'm looking at the pressure towards the Gold Fury, and especially this Pyromancer that spawns in about 50 seconds.
Especially with Sam now having Rage active for himself. If he can get some of those stacks going early, could benefit the team to get some extra crit online. 3 rotate towards the
There
Gold
it is.
Fury. Stewart, the only one in range of it right now, but Paul has a pretty long range ultimate. Sunlight Swords go out. Not enough damage. Kukuo will secure. And now it's up to the Solar Scarabs to get out of dodge. Stewart will find the root onto Hurrywind. Beads come out from the emoji, but pulled back out of his own Riptide, rooted in place. But that Tornado is doing a lot of damage back. Hurrywind will be the only kill that the Tartarus Titans find at the end of that. But that is screaming worth for Hurrywind every day of the week when you trade support for an objective.
Yeah, no doubt. Getting that Gold Fury huge here for the Solar Scarabs, and I love this proactive play. I mean, it was immediately go to the Fury. Baronic's got the ultimate, you've got the confirmation. Don't have to worry about anything else. SOT though, you can tell Sam for Soccer's going for that ultimate again over in Soul Lane. Will they be able to 100-0? No, it's called off. Sam isn't going to charge up the ult and actually decided to just give it up. Probably because he actually has tier 2 breastplate and isn't going to be able to get 100-0 that easily as a Xing Chen. Level 12, it's going to help out as an extra relic, but immediately, more objective play. The Pyromancer are going to go down. The Solar Scarabs, they're not letting up, not one bit.
Keep your foot on the gas pedal. Now that's them about a 2,500 gold lead now with the help of Gold Fury.
Whoop.
And you know what? I've made the same mistake, Bronick. I feel your pain. Went for the flick, but flicked a little too far on the Tornado. I'll have to do a little bit of extra clear with Hurrywind. But
I need to see his level order now. I need to see is he maxing the Tornado?
He's got to be.
Because I hate maxing the Tornado. I put 2 points in, and after Book of Thoth, you full clear the wave. Then you go for Zephyr. Hold that thought.
Oh, Sam, Sonic Boom, throws SOT, and can't even get the ultimate off in time. SOT, 3-0 he went last game to start this out at this point. Now 0-3. Instead it's Sam who has the 3-0-3 for himself. Every single kill that the Scarabs have gotten has had Sam for Soccer's name on it or around it at this point. This is the kind of pacing that the Solar Scarabs need to be able to push into the Titans late game.
Yeah, definitely. SOT finally able to back for that full breastplate and the beats. That's the big thing, right? Some extra CC immunity is going to go a long way here. Sot would love to teleport towards that tower, but there's no way. He's making it, and that tower goes down. You better be teleporting to your tier 2 layers, though. He's going to be hiding, waiting to see if he can find a knock-up, some sort of initiation. Not going to be the call. Sam and Scary D playing that one smart. They're going to immediately back up. With both objectives off the map as well as a tier 1 tower going down, probably smart just to back up here. Take your pick over and right, get a little bit of extra gold, and then retreat to your own base. Get some extra items online. I mean, the call for Sam is clear. Get as much damage as you can. Get these rage stacks up as quickly as you can. And so far, he hasn't been missing.
Sitting with his first official stack since he's picked up the item. Baronic Onskakolka now has his Book of Thoth fully stacked up. SOT still hasn't been able to. Just now, as I say, the sentence finishes the Book of Thoth. So a 12.5-minute book in solo. Not quite the position that Sot wants to be in at this point in time. Just got his breastplate. Meanwhile, you look across the board. Scary D for a slightly less expensive build, but is 3 full items deep into it compared to SOT, who just has his first defensive option available. So it's been a rough game for Sot on the right side of the map, and it will continue to be a rough game as he loses blue buff to Scary D.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where you're just like, I hope that Scary D rotates to the team fight so I can just be in lane for a bit, you know. I want some time to myself. I just want to clear minions and not have to worry about a Mercury ulting from behind tier 1 tower. I don't want to have to worry about confirming my own blue buff. That sort of thing is not going to be coming anytime soon for SOT, as that gold lead just continues to climb for the Solar Scarabs. Oni Fury going to be spawning in about a minute or so. You got to imagine, if the call is to get aggressive, you got to be looking towards Stewart, I guess.
Well, Desert's Fury. Sunlight Swords don't really do much for you there, Stu. As Sam grabs his 4th kill of the game, 7 for the Solar Scarabs. 100% participation still for the jungler of the Solar Scarabs. And now we're seeing a fairly significant lead, Trelly. We're nearly 5,000 gold up for the Scarabs with that pick. Tier 1 tower and right is gone. Outside of that, though, Tartarus Titans are still maintaining. Mid lane, Paul is only a level behind Baronic, who's only been a part of 2 of these 7 kills. Baronic just been really dialed in on getting that farm, even going for a Polynomicon second item. Objectives were already fairly secured and it's safe for the Titans, but add a little bit of extra burst for Baronic now with that Poly picked up.
Yeah, definitely the smart call. I mean, do as much damage as you can. That Oni Fury is going to spawn in here any second, and already Hurrywin and Yarkor immediately going in for the pull. Baronic is going to walk over to a ward, but still, there is actually ward vision down on this objective. Paul's nearby. Earthshaker could be the steal potential, but Spear of the 9 Winds is available.
Both mages have the ability to secure or steal this one away. Paul is pretty far away at this point, but it doesn't seem the Scarabs recognize that. They just see Aurora standing by and assume that the rest of the Titans are close at hand.
They're dancing on wards.
They would be right to think so. The Titans know exactly where the Solar Scarabs are, if not for the fact that now 4 out of the 5 have walked into the Tier 1 tower. 220 already on a tower with that poly shot. Baronic's already starting to hit pretty hard. Do you think he goes for the full library build this time around? We may have to hold up on seeing the rest of the build. Frenzy, Tornado, no ultimate even necessary. Solar Scarabs snag away an Oni Fury from under the nose of the Tartarus Titans. And that gold lead now 6,000 with the help of that Tier 1 tower.
Yeah, you could tell Lairs has been sitting at this Pyromancer waiting for it to spawn in. Missed the opportunity. It hasn't even spawned in yet, so there was no opportunity. The Solar Scarabs immediately heading over to the Pyromancer. Objective-minded, and they are not going to be letting anything slip through their fingers. Once again, warded.
What?
Oh, I was going to say, wait a second. You guys are cooking, but are you cooking that hard? No. Pyromancer's going to go down for free. The Solar Scarabs want to continue this. I mean, I love that kind of play, though. I'm not saying like 15-minute FG, but just showing like, hey, we are confident and we want to push this lead as much as possible because we are ahead now. So trying to get as aggressive as possible, definitely the call. Aurora forced into the cursed Ankh. I gotta be honest with you, you never want to see that. As an Ares, you want the shell and a blink, or an Ankh and a blink, but never this. Aurora has essentially been, I mean, demoted. You're the guy that chains for Peel, and your ult is essentially a kill button. And when I say a kill button, I mean Aurora will die. If Aurora ults, he will die. He will not get that ultimate off, especially if Baronic is there. I mean, you just don't have any real magical defense just yet. You can tell, working on some magical defense, a Void Stone or something. But Scary D and Sam, they can do this, and they can do it for free. The rest of the Solar Scarabs are just playing zone duty.
Aurora strips 2 sets of beads. Fire Giant being handled by Scary D and Sam, but SOT is here. Spotted this one out. Will find the knock up and on to Sam. Could find a kill in turn. The Scarabs get fire, but SOT takes one, and the Vulcan ult just off the mark from being able to take out Scary D. He dashed away just in time. But that's Sam for soccer. The 2 of the Solar Scarabs able to grab Fire Giant for 4.
Yeah, they could have had Baronic over there. Maybe that just goes down a bit quicker, but the zone plan was the call, and they committed to it. Fire Giant goes down, but Sot gets a 4-0 shutdown on his Sam for soccer as well as the beads. So that's going to be pretty massive. If the Tartarus Titans are trying to get aggressive with this FG, they don't really have the option to at the moment. They're just going to full retreat and actually let the Solar Scarab start to push up. But they've got some defense opportunities. If Sam for soccer blinks to the back line for the next 2 minutes, he's going to be CC'd to death probably. I mean, you know, you're doing a lot of damage as the Mercury, but also you die very quickly. The rest of the Scarabs grouped up over in left lane besides Scary D, who's in mid. It looks like tier 2 towers are certainly on their mind for now. But look at the cooldowns. I mean, no beads on any members of the Solar Scarabs except for Hurrywin for the next 100 seconds or so. I mean, even without Blink, Aurora should be able to find some value with that ultimate. So I can understand the hesitation, and I can understand Baronic going back to base, because if the Ares ult actually does get off, I mean, Cuckoo's dying off that pull. He better be. If Paul's there, he better be dying.
So if you are the Solar Scarabs now, we got 2.5 minutes till Fire Giant wears away. Got a tier 1 in mid and a few tier 2 towers left. Where do you start putting your stock? I mean, where do you rotate over to try and start knocking down structures? I mean, do you even try and bat away at some of these structures if you're the Scarabs? Or are you maybe waiting for that next minute until those beats come back up before you really try and push anything?
I mean, the Scarabs have a lead to where they should not be scared stepping up for tier 2. I understand Baronic positioning back, but because Aurora does not have Blink, it should be pretty easy to stay far back enough that Ares ult is not a threat. SOT doesn't have Blink. He got teleport and beat, so you don't really have to worry if you're a carry on the side of the Solar Scarabs, except for a blink in from layers. And because it's a level 16 Awelix, I mean, Spear of the 9 Winds is going to be enough poke. You know, as long as you're able to hold on to that ultimate, it's going to be a risky call going for the blink in because you usually want to go for the knock up in the pull or the feather step immediately. Saving it for the ultimate, probably the smart call. But I do like this as well. Send Sam for Soccer over to left lane, let him split push because no one wants to take that 1v1 versus a 4-1 Mercury. And then wait to see if you can get the tower over on that side of the map. But the Solar Scarabs are just grouped. They got Fire Giant for another minute 25. It looks like they are going to wait for Sam to push up before they start to get aggressive.
7k gold for the Scarabs. But still unwilling to push up to this tower just yet. A few more seconds on beads for Sam and Scary.
Stu just watching.
Stu heard the clap, looked over and said, you serious, buddy? You really want to try that? Stewart does secure purple. He's got some backup nearby, but this Fire Giant buff has not done much for the Solar Scarabs so far. They took it off the map. They keep it away from the Tartarus Titans, but they've only gotten a single tier 1 tower out of it. They haven't really been able to get any kills just yet. Feels like maybe just a little bit of disappointment that Solar Scarabs haven't been able to do much more with it. Whether it be because their relics were still down for a while, 30 seconds left, and you can see that, sure, they've been able to pick up some good gold throughout there, but I mean, haven't really gotten much of a net. Maybe they can get it here on the layers. Beats down. Sam charges up ult. He's got the backup of a couple. Riptide catches layers.
Wow.
But that auto just off the mark from being able to keep him in combat. Layers able to blink away. Primal Fury is a final consolation prize for the Solar Scarabs before the Fire Giant fades away.
I mean, that was so clean by Hurrywin. You could see Yarkor charged up the Desert Fury, immediately canceled after one spear. Realized there was no way he's going to be able to put layers back in combat. But what a great play. Not only by Sam to sit the corner and get the beat Zemba from Hurrywin as well. Going to be able to grab that. So now layers without blink or beats for the next 2 minutes or so. Fire Giant spawns back in 45. And because of the way Solar Scarabs have consistently been at these objectives when they spawn back in, the Titans are staying grouped up. No one is going to step up to that objective by themselves anymore. No one is going to step up without some vision. And this is where your eyes need to be. If you're watching this game, level 20, you're going to be pretty much a full slotted Mercury here for all intents and purposes. You're not going to have full items, but you're going to be doing a ton of damage. Has the Interceptor online, full relics, and upgraded starters. I mean, Sam for Soccer has been making everything happen. We've already talked about how he's been a part of 100% of the kills that the Solar Scarabs have, and he's also doing a fair bit of that damage as well.
The difference in the mid builds, it's a full Obsidian Shard up for Baronic versus Paul. Fire Giant respawning in just a second. The Solar Scarabs are the ones with the offensive position around. Some poke that hits Scary D and Hurrywin. You wouldn't even believe it with how little that it has done so far to the tanks. Scary D and Hurrywin going to be able to resustain up. Roar can't really be the initiator, as you mentioned.
Nope.
There's no blink on the Ares. He has no way to get to that back line. He's going to depend a lot on SOT to carry the weight for the early portion of the fight, capitalize on the beads after. For the Solar Scarabs, I mean, is this a position they can sit and they can just wait around and kind of force the Tartarus Titans to waste time around this objective?
That seems to be what the call is. I mean, I think the Solar Scarabs just pull. I don't know what they're afraid about. There's not a blink in the world. It's Paul's ultimate, and Paul's ultimate can't even make it in time. It's gone.
Wow, Fire Giant. Paul's ultimate was there 2 seconds later, fired it as the Fire Giant died.
Paul's ultimate was Internet Explorer. So late to the party.
Meanwhile, Solar Scarabs, they now get their second fire of the game. And maybe they can do something a little bit more with it this time. Last time around, it was a single Fury and a Tier 1 tower. This time ripe for the picking. 3 Tier 2s available and on the map. Scary D is fine for the moment. Sunlight Swords don't hit. Goes into the dazzling offensive, but is going to get pulled back from the beads. But that's a lot that's been used.
Wow.
For not very much. Sonic Boom misses layers. SOT teleports back to the right side of the map. Is met with a tornado. But now it's layers versus Sam, and Sam is winning that one. Needs a backup for layers, but he's surrounded by 5. Feather steps over some, but not the crit from Sam for Soccer. First casualty is the Tartarus Titans.
Yeah, looks like SOT could be in a little bit of trouble. Good jump out. And that's going to be all she wrote for now. Solar Scarabs group up on the right side of the map while Sam for Soccer can do no wrong. Gonna grab that tier 2 tower. The Titans are gonna have to defend without ultimates except for Paul. And a man down on the right side of the map. I wouldn't be surprised if Sam just, and Scary, yeah, I like this. 2-3 splits, Sam and Scary D. They don't have to be worried about Paul at all. They're gonna be able to grab this Phoenix or at least put some pressure onto this Vulcan.
Well, Paul will avoid the stun, loses out on his bead. Sam
No
taking
way.
the Phoenix, and it's a turnaround for Paul, maybe. A kill onto Scary D is forced around. He's able to dash away just in time. The gap close is not there, and Paul at 40% HP looks to his side, sees 3 other Scarabs, and he'll back away. A good shutdown kill for Paul up onto Sam for Soccer. Slows down the momentum of the Scarabs, and Charlie, both Phoenixes still stand.
Yeah, so when I said Sam and Scary D don't have to be afraid about Paul, I meant just go for the Phoenix and ignore Paul. They decided, hey, let's hit him, get Phoenix aggro, and then die to it, which would not have been my call, but I can understand Sam for Soccer playing with house money a bit. 5-1 on a late game Mercury, probably felt he could 2-shot him, was not able to, and Paul is able to find the kill. Loses both rocks in the process, but you keep your Phoenix alive, you get a kill onto that Fed Mercury, and you shut down a good bit of this Fire Giant siege. A minute 30 left. Tartarus Titans got to be happy about that one. But SOT a little bit off the mark on the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, was not able to grab Scary D. And then Baronic also sent the ultimate, more so to peel out his solo laner. And that was off the mark, but I think just the threat of being one shot over the wall was enough to make the Tartarus Titans back off. I see a grouping though. The Titans are staying together on the right side of the map. Same for Soccer. If he doesn't see everyone, might try to go in for the 1v1 versus Stewart, but it looks like the Titans are going to show themselves. While the Solar Scarabs, they're grouped on the left side of the map. They still have Fire Giant on 4. They're fine with this.
Tier 2 tower, or maybe a group up towards mid. Not quite sure what the Scarabs are going for here. They'll send 3 to the left, deal with the tier 2 tower there. All the Titans have backed away for now. SOT gonna take the long haul back. But it's only tier 2 for the Solar Scarabs. Still grouped up and hovering around the top side. But again, only 40 seconds left on this Fire Giant. With a Gold Fury spawn back in, Solar Scarabs will take yet another Fury as their final prize before this buff fades away from itself. It'll be a nice influx of gold once more. Add another bit to the pockets, and we are sitting at nearly 14,000 up. Actually, more than 14,000 now with that Pyromancer down. This is a difficult lead for the Titans to fight back into.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know, we've seen it takes a while for Vulcan ult to actually hit Fire Giant with the Frenzy being popped, with the amount of crit damage coming from Yarkor and Sam for Soccer. And let's not throw Baronic's name out of the mix because that can also burn through a Fire Giant extremely quick. You almost have to ult before Fire Giant even spawns. And at that point, they're going to go, oh wait, he ulted, let's back up, and then it's wasted. So I would say Paul's ult is not a reliable steal tool anymore just because of how quickly the Solar Scarabs have to do it. And if you're max ranging that ult, you're too far away. The Fire Giant dies in the time it takes for that Earthshaker to fly. So going for the steal, probably not the call here, but the Solar Scarabs are so aggressive and so quick to pull these objectives. Going for the fight doesn't seem to be on their mind either. The Tartarus Titans fully grouped on the left side of the map. I mean, they're grabbing for the Trebuchet, and then what? You give up FG? Actually, Hardwin's zooming everyone in. Are you just going to go for a Phoenix? Yeah, that does force the back of the Tartarus Titans. I was going to say, I don't know what the call was, but it looks like we don't get to see what the call was because they're going back to base.
Solar Scarabs will start pushing up right, but now head back towards the fire. And
That's free.
does not seem the Titans will be in position to stop this one. Layers will deal with the Trebuchet on left.
Let's time this.
The rest of the Titans, okay, so crashes down right at 52.5. And it makes it about less than 5 seconds.
Yeah, and Paul's ult, I think, like at max range has about a 4-second travel time, so there's just no way it's not
Feels
going
like
to happen.
20, man.
Yep, you just got to bunker down. I like this. Put your turret down, sit there and wait. There's no farm for you to be had. You don't want to catch yourself losing relics early. Just sit down and wait. Eventually the Scarabs have to show up, right? They'll beat the Phoenixes. Don't meet them in the jungle. If you meet Sam for Soccer in the jungle,
He wins.
you're not winning those.
No, Sam definitely wins that jungle fight. Has Seer full build of Bloodforge as his last item, so if he gets that one kill, give him the shield, give him the extra movement speed, boost him up a little more, and let it just keep going. Good lord, I mean, I know that Seer the jungle gives you extra damage on jungle buffs there, but still an 1100 crit on Made You Look is scary territory when nobody on the Tartarus Titans is full build yet. Not the solo laner. Stewart's almost there, but it's still a little shy of his Silver Branch. Paul is an item back behind. Tartarus Titans, what is their defense call? What is their way back in to this 16,000 and climbing gold lead that the Scarabs have?
I mean, you hope that Sam tries to kill Paul again and he gets killed by the Phoenix. That would be my play. But it looks like Sam's learned his mistake, and it's going to go over to right lane, push up the minions. Scary D's taken mid, and then the rest of the Scarabs, Yark, Moronic, and Hurricane over on the left side of the map. I mean, the Titans could get aggressive now. They've got time. San Francisco is so far away. Try and take this 3v5, but it looks like splitting up also are the Titans. They're confident they can clear waves at the very least. They might lose right Phoenix in the process, but so far they're trying to defend as much as they possibly can. That's the current call. No one's going in for these Phoenixes just yet, but FG for another 2 minutes and 12 seconds, the Scarabs, they can take their time.
Sam steps in Phoenix. Met by SOT. Split. 3-1 and 1 across the board for both teams. Scary D's got to deal with a turret from Paul. See that Sam wants to find a way through. He can charge up that Sonic Boom and travel to either of these two lanes in the blink of an eye to help out the team. For now, he'll stick to the right side. Scary D again in mid, being handled by Layers. Layers just casually traveling back and forth, trying to keep Scary D out of Phoenix. Hurwin's trying to find that pull with that Riptide to grab anybody that he can. But not a whole lot has been happening. Layers, maybe a perfect call to be the one to hold back Scary D. Sam now rotates over. That forces SOT. Sonic Boom and a Rooster Beak on the other side. Aurora will grab Hurrywin, gets the beads from the Yemoja. And some damage returned back by Paul, but Sam has gone back to the right side of the map. Pushed away so the right Phoenix doesn't go down. The mid Phoenix doesn't go down. The left one still stands. The Solar Scarabs in their 3 minutes have not taken a single bird and have only taken one relic away from the Titans. Finally, Layers will be dealt with by Scary D, and the mid Phoenix will go down. Ultimate from the mid laner almost takes out Seward. He's forced to go back to the fountain, and now the birds will finally have their wings clipped by the Solar Scarabs. Only one Phoenix left standing.
Yeah, and I assume the Scarabs rotate over towards this Phoenix. Scary D gonna be the first one under and try and grab this Phoenix as well. All three down would be massive. Scary D turns to not get knocked up by Layers, and because of that Hurrywin regen as well as Fire Giant, full HP for this resiege, but they're not gonna go for it. FG for only 20 seconds, even that weakened Phoenix. They decide they don't want to go for any throw plays and decide to back off. I gotta be honest with you, the way that Paul is itemized here, I mean, I saw him rotate probably 4 times his abilities on a Hurrywin and nothing changed. I mean, he does 0 damage to anyone that's not a squishy. He does a ton to Moronic. But if you're trying to poke out tanks here, that is not what Paul's going for. Now could be in some trouble. He's gonna need a lot of juke shoes. And there's not enough juke shoes in the world to get out of that situation.
He needs a rocket boots at that point. He needs something to get him off this map.
Yep.
But unfortunately for him, he is off the map, but in the grayscale screen for another 50 seconds while the Solar Scarabs ignore the Oni Fury that spawned in. With Paul off the map, that's a power play that the Scarabs could go for. And Charlie, we could be seeing the first game 3 for the Titans all phase long as we get ready to push in towards the throne room. Fire minions on left, fire minions in mid. Right Phoenix weak, but still standing. Hurrywin to the back line. Rivers will find Stewart. Ultimate from the mid laner, clips Stewart, and he is gone. Moronic, the Solar Scarabs, with a strange composition that they have drafted for themselves, it works out. And these guys are happy they take game 1.
I'm telling you, man, throw meta out the window. When you're down and out like the Scarabs say, Sam said, guys, I really like Mercury. And Brian's like, well, I like Cuckoo. It doesn't matter if they're good in the meta. It doesn't matter if they're really prominent. They were able to hit those ults, and they were able to play to their comp strengths. The Solar Scarabs, fantastic objective-minded performance, right? They were constantly, the second Pyro spawns in, they're on it. Like the second Gold Fury was spawning in, they were consistently on it. They built up that lead. Maybe a couple drops here and there. San Francisco getting a little bit over-aggressive underneath that Phoenix, but besides that, I mean, this was Scarabs through and through, and I truthfully think it was lost from the second that Aurora was not able to play aggressively on Ares, he wasn't able to do anything. I mean, Ares, when you're delegated to using Phantom Shell and Ankh, and you can't use your ultimate aggressively, I got chains for you guys. That's all he could do, and Aurora was he couldn't help at all.
Yeah, it really did feel like Aurora was mitigated to essentially nothing in that game for the Titans. They fall down in game 2. They go to their first game 3 of the phase. Can the Solar Scarabs keep up this momentum in game 3? We'll find out right after this break.
What's up, Smite fans? Dolson here, and Season 9 of the SPL is shaping up to be maybe the best ever. And to help us get there, we're partnering with Alienware to provide us, our players, the production team, with state-of-the-art gear to make this year one of the best yet. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear what the pros have to say.
As a professional player, it's super important to make sure that you just have the absolute highest quality gear and peripherals that you can ever get. And having an Alienware PC has completely upped our game here at the SPL.
It's really nice being able to play from the same PC from home into the studio, and I highly, highly recommend it. It feels great to play on.
So I really enjoyed using Alienware computers because, one, I'm a streamer, content is my job, and the power of the Alienware PCs is like amazing. It's perfect for everything that we need to do.
I stream 1080p, no problem. I have no issues with FPS, no frame lag or anything like that.
64 gigabytes of RAM is just something that you can only dream of, and like it helps so much with processing like anything that you need to perform, like multitasking, whether it's streaming, recording, gaming, like everything all at once, and it's been a very smooth experience.
As someone who doesn't enjoy building my own PC, the Alienware's kind of got everything in one machine. It was super easy.
I really like the pre-built Alienware as well because it's really hard to get a graphics card on the market currently.
A 3090 is like impossible to obtain, so being able to play on it has been honestly a very lucky experience.
Back in the day, I used to game and do all my content on a really pathetic laptop, and once I actually was able to get an Alienware PC, there's just no turning back.
For a lot of players that were used to just their home setups and maybe didn't have top quality products, going to such a huge upgrade with our Alienware PCs has just absolutely increased the quality of our practice.
I'm just a big fan of Alienware. I think they're the top of the line PCs literally for a reason.
It's definitely the best PC I've ever had by a long way.
Shadowsware, great company, love them a lot.
And I haven't but praise for the product.
That's high praise from some of the best gamers in the world. So thanks again to Alienware for powering us this year in Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League. And remember, if you want to get your hands on some of the gear that our pro players play on, make sure to check out Alienware on all of their socials and at their website as well.
I think if I didn't have my Alienware, I would go out and purchase one right now.
If you listen to no one in life, make sure you listen to long-haired Neoma. That's what's important. And one thing we've learned after Game 2 here is we should never, ever listen to Mifflin when it comes to... I said I was going to be so unbiased. I said I was going to be nice. I said I was going to be an unbiased third party. Let me retry this because I did set Miff up for failure there. I am going to be an unbiased third party, simply a bystander. I'm a mechanism for moving this discussion forward. Game number 2, despite a very unique composition for the Solar Scarabs, they're able to get it done. The Titans might have more consistency in their draft, but the Scarabs, they got some of their favorite picks. And Mifflin, despite what might not have looked like as strong a draft, the Solar Scarabs able to get it done.
There were a lot of unforeseeables, David, okay? There were a lot of things that
you see
could
that down
not
there?
have been foreseen.
What does that say at the bottom of the screen? It says Dave.
Listen.
Go ahead.
How was I to know that Yarkor was going to shove Stu in a locker and take his money? How was I to know that? How was I to know that SOT was going to drop 3 deaths in the first 5 minutes of the game on one of the safest Guardians in the game? How was I to know that? How was I to know that a Mercury was going to completely outpace an Awelish for literally every portion of the game? How was I to know that Layers decided that was a free ride match? How? You tell me how I'm supposed to know that stuff, man.
I'm an unbiased third party.
Every single bit of traditional Smite knowledge in every single game, all 197 of them that I've casted this year, led me to believe that one of those compositions was better than the other, all right? And I was wrong. I'll admit it. I was wrong. No, I wasn't wrong. Play on field was a difference maker.
Yeah, there's a difference between being wrong and just being...
Not right.
No, you were decision-oriented, not results-oriented.
Because the results hadn't come in yet.
Correct, but that's what I mean. You're you're wrong based on results, but your logic myth might have been sound. Now it is time. It's time to give the Solar Scarabs their praise. Because not only have they finally sent the Titans to a Game 3, first time this phase, the Solar Scarabs finally back to winning SMITE. They had lost 6 straight games over 3 straight sets. In this, for the first time in like 7 or 8 games of Smite, was a Scarabs team that had some type of identity. They were playing around Sam, who was so effective.
Super effective.
On this Mercury at 5-2 and 4, got everything going. Baronic was hitting his ults. This felt like a Solar Scarabs team, Myth, that had a game plan. They had some of their favorite picks. And, you know, traditional Smite knowledge didn't necessarily dictate the outcome of this one. Good damage numbers from the Titans. But the play on field was there for the Scarabs. And I think you could feel the relief in that player booth after that win. The set far from over. Titans still might just win the set. But I think you could see on Yark's face, you could see on Hurrywin's face. That team was just, they were happy to see one go in. And maybe that's something to build off of.
I think so. And maybe Trelly hits the nail on the head at the beginning of that cast. If you're not comfortable with the current meta, lean on the old reliables. And that's exactly what happens in Game 2. Sure, Kukulkan not exactly in the best place right now. Looked all right for him. That was one of the best performances we've seen from Baronic in a while. Like a half milli rock. Sure, Mercury seems to only be good for like 3 games every 6 months, but this is one of those 3, and it's been about 6 months since we last seen him. So Sam for Soccer can get on those as well. On her, maybe not the best late game scaling hunter, but if you're going to dominate lane and you know you're going to be able to build a blink, get on her. It's just going to work out. So go ahead, Scarabs. I just want to get them out to a barn so they could run free, you know?
You want to get them to a barn so they can run. No, you want to bring
large
them to like
pasture.
There we go. That's what we're looking for. Can they do it twice, though? That's been the difficulty in the last few sets. But now a chance to get back in the winning column against the Tartarus Titans. And remember, kind of keep that top 6 dream alive. You know, we're not out of it if you lose this set, but it becomes a lot more unlikely. You're already up against it. You can't afford to drop many sets now if you're the Solar Scarabs. And if you're the Titans, you're reeling a bit after that one. Not much went your way in game number 2. Thinking long and hard about where they want their 3rd and final ban to go. Is Yamoja banned by the Solar Scarabs? You're not giving that one to Aurora. And the respect ban on the Mercury. Sam for Soccer, if you want to play hyper carry jungler, you're going to have to get it done on someone else.
Yeah, I wonder. Sam's got a couple of comfort picks that he's been going to at times in the past. Kali.
Bakasura.
I
don't know if he's going to either of those.
And I don't know that those were either the ones that I would have meant. I was thinking like the Hunbots, the Thanatos.
No, I'm talking eclectic picks, though, that other people in the SPL aren't playing. Thanatos,
Thanatos for sure.
Hunbots, some people are
Gilgamesh, now that Gilgamesh isn't really good anymore, Sam for Soccer is a little bit more likely to go towards, so that's an opportunity. I would probably pick a support here from the Solar Scarabs. Maybe a Kepri, maybe an Atlas, both picks that Hurrywin very, very comfortable on. Would be able to make that laning phase a bit easier with both. Pressure kind of generates from either of them. Could be an option.
Sam has only been positive in kills and deaths, so we're taking assists out of the equation here. He's only been positive in 2 of his last 6 games. One was a Hunbats game, the other just now on the Mercury. So you're absolutely right. Hunbats has been all reliable for Sam for Soccer. The Emoja worked so well for Hurrywin, and so maybe getting that top tier support pick would be a good name of the game. While it can't be Emoja, it could be something else. Been playing Kepri, Ymir, Atlas, Sylvanas, Cabrakan. So one of those teams.
My man's diverse.
Right, so one of those teams that's really been trying to pinpoint what's been working well. Everyone's played 6 different picks in the last 6 games. My goodness, we are deep into bank time in the first round of picks.
They're thinking hard.
They thought long and hard
Out
about that.
of the box, too.
They thought so.
Yo, these are wild picks.
They thought so long and hard about that Vulcan and Cupid. But
no way they roped me for Vulcan and Cupid as a top 2.
I know,
That's
I was getting
crazy.
pulled in there, theory crafting a bit. Granted, now we're going back to the tier list a little bit. Vulcan, Cupid, about as good as it gets in those 2 roles.
But classic Smite knowledge has already gone out the window, man. So hard to say. I'll say what the gods do. Cupid brings a whole lot of damage, but most importantly is the healing of those late game team fights. Just It gives your supports the opportunity to walk up, try and initiate. If it doesn't work, enjoy your 500 HP back. Let's try it again a little bit later. Here's the thing. Also didn't cost me any mana because you picked up all 3 hearts. Vulcan as well. One of the best conformations in the game, probably right behind E-Set. It's long-range artillery damage, great DPS on objectives. The Solar Scarabs want to try and play that objective-focused. Just get your pick, run down a Gold Fury style. Vulcan will expedite that process a good deal just with that turret. So I love the top 2 from the Solar Scarabs. It's nothing unique, though. This is not a distinctly Scarabs draft in the top 2. This is just standard SMITE Season 9 Phase 3 meta.
The problem is, if we're talking about the Scarabs, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because the good was the non-standard kind of crazy picks. In our last game.
We got some time. 3 more picks. We got some time.
Right, assuming jungle, solo, and support. Won't be Ymir for Hurrywind. That's now picked up by Aurora. The Ares experiment has come to a close on a loss for Aurora. Back to the Ymir that did very, very well in Game 1 at 0, 2, and 12. And then the Morgan covers the bases of Paul a bit, I suppose. If you're giving something very strong over to the Solar Scarabs, you give your opportunity for a second one of those. But also Cthulhu's still around. Remember, this is a Titans team that has, in the past, loved to play that style to Cthulhu composition. Do you think that a Morgan being on the other side does make you think a little bit extra about what you're picking for your own team? Are you changing your picks based on there being a Morgan on the other team?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
no.
fair enough.
Is
that a you thing, or is that a how
I think
you
that
should
is,
treat it
that
thing?
is everybody.
Okay.
You want to build your draft regardless. The only thing that might change it is, well, there's a Morgan on the other side. What counters Morgan? Like, that's the conversation, not the what's on the other side, or Morgan's on the other side. I don't want to draft this because then they'll have one as well. That's never, I don't think, playing into anybody's mindset. Because if that were the case, why are you locking in Susano? Because Typhoon's just ridiculous. Do you want the Titans to have that? Probably not, but you'd like to have one for yourself.
We already saw that earlier today.
We did. And it
Susano.
Traded out. Pagon got a triple. Panatom did the exact same thing. What I would be considering, though, for the Solar Scarabs is potentially a Cthulhu ban. Feels like Morgan Cthulhu is just an age-old Titan special. Was a different squad. Was a completely different team back then, but maybe they could. Oh, did you say that already? You're making a face.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I tuned you out, man. I tuned you out so
How
hard.
often do you tune me out? Miff, it feels like you don't listen to me anymore.
More often than you'd think, but less than I'd hope.
You hope to tune me out more?
Sometimes you're real loud.
So you're talking like team fight wise. I'm like yelling.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Only in the team fight.
Miff, are we okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to return to this when we're off cast. We need to have a little chat.
Oh my god. I have to tune him out again.
This is why, Miff. This is why I want to talk. No, Sylvanas picked for the Solar Scarabs. That is a repeat pick now for Hurrywind in his last 6. Played Sylvanas last against the Jade Dragons. That went 0, 6, and 17, so a decent KDA. Support KDA on the Sylvanas last time we saw it. But then, Guan Yu plus Robin for the Tartarus Titans. Robin looked really good for Layers for a little while, fell out of the meta a bit, and now Layers is going to be bringing it back here for Game 3.
Robin is a pick, assuming it is headed to the jungle, and I think that's a hard assumption to make. Worth noting, SOT was one of the only guys to bring Robin into the soul lane back when mitigation Robin was cream of the crop in the most recent time, or not the most recent, but recently we have seen Guan Yu in the jungle for the Tartarus Titans. Either way, the point that I'm going to make stands. We cannot have a no-show from Layers on either of those picks. If you're playing Guan Yu or Robin in the jungle, it's get involved, and it's get involved early. Get your hands dirty, rotate through these lanes. You can't be getting outpaced by a Susano on the other side. Both Guan Yu and Robin are level 3 monsters. The second they get access to their kit like that, it is a completely different look, whereas Susano needs itemization, needs the ultimate. Generally around level like 7 is when you feel comfortable ganking lanes consistently on a pick like Susano. Guan Yu and Robin both need to get active early. And we haven't seen a whole lot of that from Layers recently.
Nope.
Used to be his MO. He was the first blood guy, or along Shan, Mannequin Scepter, walk into mid at level 2, make it happen. Haven't seen that style play recently, but these are 2 picks that have to do it.
Layers has had 2 1-kill games, 2 3-kill games. a 2-kill game and a 0-kill game in the last 6. So 0 to 3 kills for Layers in the last 6 games. Needs to amp that up maybe in our mind a little bit here. Now, it was a really good Erlong Shen game in game 1 of this set at 3-1 and 11. Fantastic at facilitating for his team. You're putting a lot of weight on the scrappiness, though, of this Robin and the ability to fight, ability to get active early in the game. I do want to touch on this, Susano, I guess, yes, but Sylvanas is what I was going for there. Provide some extra sustain. Artio does as well, on top of Cupid. I'm going to return to that anti-heal conversation here, Miff. Do you think you're looking at standard anti-heal numbers from the Titans this game, considering an Ankh? You have some applicators of it. Do you think there's a heavy need for the Titans to limit the amount of healing that the Scarabs can do?
Throwing me a low and slow one down the middle here, Dave. There's a Cupid, a Sylvanas, and an Artio. Yeah.
Can they do it?
Divine Ruin? Yeah. Brawler's Beat Stick? Give me an Ankh. Contagion, Pestilence, all of it. I want all. Yeah, yes. Anti-heal certainly the name of the game. If I don't see it like at least 2 anti-heal items by second slot across the board, I think the Titans are making mistakes.
Miff, it's a little less low and slow when you point out that it's a low and I was setting you up for the easiest, most analytical answer of your life.
And I said it flying, dude. I called my shot.
You sent it flying, but it's like a T-ball game. You're revealing the T that the ball is on top of at the end of the hit. Who knows? Game number 3 between the Scarabs and the Titans. One final one to find us a winner.
And we'll see who that winner is as we jump into Game 3. Tartarus Titans and Solar Scarabs. The first Game 3 of the Titans all phase, and maybe the second win for the Solar Scarabs. They can find that here in this third game. It's J-Mac, Trelly, and Doug. One more time. And I'm going to have you kind of piggyback off what Mifflin was saying for Layers, because I think it's right to say that Layers has not been very active in the last couple of sets that we have seen him. As mentioned, only 3 kills is the most that he's gotten in any individual game of his last 6. Do you kind of echo that same sentiment for Layers on this, Robin, that he's got to get active a little bit earlier on this time around?
I do agree, but I think it's a lot easier for him to get active in this game in particular. I mean, the Robin up against pretty much any character on the side of the Solar Scarabs, I imagine is going to be having, like, just fine. You get so much value out of overhead kick, as well as you've got another Robin. Paul can just transform as well and help you out. Giving Paul the Morgan in Game 3, I mean, that's risky. That's a risky play here from the Solar Scarabs. They better be feeling confident, because I feel like the composition that the Titans have, especially that 1-2 punch from Paul and Layers, I mean, it's going to be difficult not only for Baronic to survive in this lane, but Sam for Soccer should be losing the 1v1s up against Layers, especially around level 5. And I do echo about what Mifflin was saying. A little bit later on, Susano starts chunking and definitely can get the better of these trades, but early, I mean, Layers should and can get active and should be able to, find some early ganks with this pick.
Stewart losing on the initial boxing match with Yarkor, but it's mostly for that easy lane pressure that Hurry and Yarkor have to combo with each other for the dual lane. Could mean an early scepter for the Solar Scarabs, unless Layers has something to say about it. We've been seeing a lot of rotations by Layers this left side of the map. We're even seeing Paul rotate over with him, maybe just to get the Oracle Harpies. And even SOT falling very low on the Guan Yu. Lackluster performance in game number 2 out of SOT. Died very frequently on a pick that's typically coined as being a much more safe Guardian, one of the safer gods in general to kind of have over there.
Oh, yeah.
You think it makes it even more difficult for him now that he's on maybe not so safe of a pick with the Guan Yu. Still fairly safe in some regards, but up against an Artio early on.
Yeah, I mean, you just have no avenues to get active as a Guan Yu in this lane, especially with the way that SOT is itemized. I mean, tier 1 Manticore spikes, I mean, I guess Fabulous hoops in this case, but either way, the tier 1 earring in a Tainted Steel means you're not clearing. As long as Scary D holds on to those abilities, he's going to have no problems trying to clear the wave. And now, if you ever decide to dash through, which you probably shouldn't, yeah, I was going to say, you might open yourself up to a gank from Sam for Soccer. But either way, I mean, the Conduit Gem, the extra damage, Scary D should be owning this lane for the times to come. If I'm Layers, I'm not even walking over here. I'm saying, Sock, good luck. I'll see you later. Maybe at like level 12 if I'm feeling, but not going to be the call. Actually, Scary D has went for the full damage style ability even on the Artio, though. So maybe that opens up some avenues for some gank potential. But you got to wait till SOT gets access to ultimate. Once the ult comes through, then you can start to look towards the solo lane. Then that's where you can get aggressive and try and cancel out that bear form dash and chase down an Artio. With the Book of Thoughtstar, that might open up some doors.
So in that regard, I mean, if you do decide to leave Scary D alone, if you're layers, you then just throw, maybe kind of jump on Baronic a bit on this mid lane. Vulcan, not very mobile, has to land some abilities to get that movement speed. Backfire doesn't take them super far. Does that feel like that's a good target for layers to maybe try and prioritize early in the game?
100%. I mean, that's exactly what I'm looking at if I'm layers. And if I'm Paul, I might even say layers, I don't need you. Because if you're able to land a full combo onto Vulcan, even with beads, it's going to be hard to live. And you get your choice. You can go into the Robin, or you can go into Susano. Either one is going to 100-0 Vulcan at level 5. So Paul has his pick of the litter. Already hit level 5, whereas Baronic just ticks over as well, but is hiding underneath the Phoenix at the moment, just respawn back in. A good pull onto Aurora, though. The Heart Bomb is going to start to head up, but so tanky is this Jameer.
But Sam's on the way. Pull onto Aurora, and first blood on the horizon. A dash in by Stu, and a kill for Hurrywin. The Solar Scarabs on the board early, striking back into the dual lane. SOT should be fine on this right side. But what a perfect timing for Sam for Soccer to get in there and get active for the Scarabs.
Yeah, I bet you Sam was like, oh, you got the pull, he got the... He was like, okay, I'm coming over. The second that pull hit, we saw this Susano heading over towards duo, and that's going to be a huge, not only a confidence booster, but also, hold that thought, now Yarkor could be in some trouble, had the dash, so layers not going to be able to chase that one down. You get the beads on the Cupid, and it looks like that's going to be the small win. The Tartarus Titans were after a little bit more, but you're not diving tower this early on.
That is 2.5 minutes until Yarkor gets those beats back.
I lied,
Sam
you are diving tower.
active to the right side, up on the cavalry, dismounted immediately, but there's just too much damage with Scary D tanking the tower. That gives Sam the free poke there. Maybe a pick on a Hurrywin. Could be a way to start this up. Double knockup is good. Free still there from Aurora. Hurrywin will go down, but it'll take a long time for the Tartarus Titans to do so. Yarkor's still alive at the end of it all. It's just a pick on a hurry.
Yeah, it's going to be a pick, and the purple buff invades, so Yarkor definitely going to be missing out. Stewart's got 2 levels on the Cupid just because that wave is not being cleared very quickly. Once that full wave goes clear, we'll call it a full level over that Stewart has in the duo lane currently. But because of that purple buff being going down, as well as the Ishtar picking up the Indra Scepter, I don't imagine there's any more boxing matches happening over on duo lane for the time being. Neither one is back, though, so, you know, Dev Gauntlet's still probably going to get finished up about the same time. Yarkor shouldn't be too worried about this lane for the time being. Looking at the rest of the map, SOT getting dove consistently, you know, does not have much survivability. Once the Fabulous Hoops gets online, you've got a better chance, but because of the way Scary D's itemized, man, he's got the Book of Thoth, got the Conduit Gem. He's going to be stuffing these waves, no problem, clearing consistently. Unless Layer shows up on the right side of the map, SOT's going to have a rough time for the next, like, 10 minutes or so.
I know it's not much because it's very early in the game, but 5.5 minutes in, not a crumb of player damage for Paul just yet. He's sitting at a goose egg on the Morrigan to start things out. Which, again, once you finally get some items online, that's when you go through, but actually itemizing towards Book of Thoth for Paul. I mean, traditionally, this is the spot where you slot in a Doom Orb and get that extra movement speed. Hey, there's some player damage, 133.
He's on the board.
But is this the build path that you run for a Morrigan? I mean, you want that movement speed to get the flank in there. Is that extra pen that's gone to Book of Thoth made it so valuable that you would start rushing it now instead on a Morrigan?
I mean, short answer, no, but Paul is Paul, and he's going to be building whatever he wants, and I will trust him that it works. Doom Orb, I think, is too valuable to pass up, but you're going to be doing a ton of damage. You're going to be running out of mana much less, and you're going to have some kill potential on the Baronic. That is what Paul's looking for, clearly. Hasn't been getting too active so far. I mean, that was a gank attempt that we just witnessed. Baronic evaded it perfectly, put down the turret, ran away. Layer said, okay, we're not diving that far, and gave up. But still, it was an attempt, as the blue buff's going to be taken right in front of Layer's eyes. Here comes the rotation from Aurora and Paul. But it looks like too little too late. Not going to be able to catch anyone here. Layer's just going to force this, though.
On the Scary D, Typhoon charged up, hits one, but it's juked out by the rest of the CC immunity on the squad. SOT, credit to the kill against his opposition in lane. And the Tartarus Titans punching back. Now only 700 gold separating the Solar Scarabs from the Tartarus Titans at this point. XP slightly in favor for the Titans, but some of that maybe just due to the fact that Paul has been able to free farm by himself in the mid lane, and Aurora now going for a back camp steal, leaving one tiny Harpy behind. One little baby Harpy to sit back and have to wait for those friends to come back.
Don't worry, Sam's going to grab it here. He's going to feel a little bit bad, but should be able to clear that one up, as well as grabbing the blue buff over for Scary D. But again, because of the itemization Scary D went, that gank can happen. An RDO with breastplate, you're definitely not dying there. But I guess the trade-off is SOT's not that far behind if you're building breastplate on the RDO. I imagine still you get a fair bit of pressure, but this is the benefits of the Book of Thoth, and there's also the drawback. So Layers combining with SOT to make sure that kills go through, and the Guan Yu picks up the first of the game. And I think SOT needed that. I mean, he was so far behind, lost so much gold to this tower just by nature of Scary D doing this, running at him, waiting for you to charge up Tyloo Assault, and immediately stunning, saying you're not getting any last hits on these minions. And it's just, oh, he was able to juke that one, so SOT gets some gold. Now Scary D's sad. But that's been happening consistently, so really needed that kill, especially this early on, because that gold deficit can really start to grow if you're just consistently losing your blue buffs and minions to tower like that.
It's just the misery of a channeled ability solo laner. Know it all too well. Anytime I was trying to play solo when Hades was meta, and I didn't realize that Hades was super meta until I went like 3 games in a row against the Hades solo. And I'm sitting over here playing gods like Guan Yu, I'm playing Nike, and I'm just like, man, this is miserable. I just don't get to clear wave, do I? You don't get to ever use Tyloo Assault, you don't get to use whatever it may be.
I think your first problem was playing Nike, probably. You weren't going to have fun anyways.
You know what? I'll be honest. I like Nike. Yeah. I think she's a fun god.
You also said Outwash is your favorite mage.
That is true.
So
I've been saying that since he came out back in like season 2.
Yeah, so you would like Nike. That's all I'm going to say about that.
What's that got to say about anything? Well, let's talk about Sam for soccer. Has the Typhoon defensively. Freeze on a Hurrywin. Vulcan ult from Bronic. Juked out by Layers. Wall to block off Hurrywin. Transform out of Paul. He'll dunk in for his own. And that's a lot to kill the tree.
That is a lot.
The robotic tree man in this case. But they got him. The Tartarus Titans got him. Maybe the Scarabs can answer with one of their own. SOT doesn't have the cavalry charge. Dot on him. 1-for-1 trade. A lot easier to kill the Guan Yu.
Yeah, they didn't have to use many ultimates to kill out the Guan Yu. It was just some stance switching from Scary D. That was all it really took, but that was a lot. Hurrywind proving to be extremely tanky, but at the very least, the Tartarus Titans were able to confirm that one. Gold still in favor of the Solar Scarabs by a fair bit, about 1,100 at the moment in favor of the Solar Scarabs. But Paul actually getting wrapped around, but Layers is wrapping around on Sam.
My lord, the damage combo, though, from Paul and Layers with Sam critical. Paul able to stealth away. Wall by Aurora will block off Scary D's path. Layers is trying to get that kill, but heal from Hurrywin. Maybe the charge in by SOT will be enough. Needs a little bit more. One shot after will do so. It's a Tyloo Assault from SOT to drop Scary D for the second time this game. Tartarus Titans still fighting into a slight deficit of the Scarabs, but that slight deficit is not very much to them.
Yeah, definitely not. I was going to see if a possible Pyromancer would come through. SOT showed that he might want to, and immediately did. Autoed it once, Hurrywin saw it, and that call is gone. Any steal potential that Hurrywin could have, it looks like the Tartarus Titans are afraid of it, especially since that Khepri steal so long ago, but I bet it's still ingrained in their minds because it won't feel that long, losing to 18 tick damage. I mean, Sylvanas has even more than that, so you got to be watching out in that situation, but Tartarus Titans leading 4-1 in the kill, or 4-3 in the kills, but still down in the gold department as both of these relics, I mean, objectives still stand tall for the time being. We've seen pretty much nothing from the duo lane. I mean, we saw that early kill on for Stu, but besides that, Yark and Stu have just been clearing waves and not really too concerned by each other. A lot of fighting on the right side of the map towards this solo. Scary D and SOT have both been real active, not just in the 1v1, but also just all sorts of fighting potential they've had.
The staring of the supports at each other. Layers will dive over the fields of love. Heart Bomb will still deal the damage, but Hurrywin lives through. Gets the pull onto Aurora, pulls him back to Yark, and now it's Sam and Bronic on the way. Could be a turnaround for the Solar Scarabs. Teleport with a jet stream, pull up against the wall. Vulcan ult, a little shy because of it, but the Typhoon has locked in Aurora, who will be the only casualty of this bloodbath. There are 5 Solar Scarabs on the right side, or the left side of the map. Their right side, I guess, technically. And a Gold Fury still standing. Solar Scarabs group around and maybe start a pull on the objective. But maybe with SOT here, they don't do so instead.
Yeah, I saw Paul and Layers. I mean, yeah, SOT as well. All were heading over. And that just looked like a scary pull, especially with Paul's ultimate available. You never know what's coming. You know, you could be trying to outburst another Vulcan. Actually, Boronic, he is gone. There's no way you're living through that one. That kill potential is always there. Boronic has the beads, has the shell, used none of them. And that's what Book of Thought Spear of Desolation can do for the Morgan, especially transforming into the Robin. And that's as easy as it gets. I mean, I'm surprised that hasn't happened more, because you have no defense options as a Vulcan into a Morgan. You can never live that unless you're pre-beadsing and running. And Boronic clearly didn't expect that damage.
Can we check the level order on Paul? Because I've been seeing a lot of Morgans max the third ability, but instead, Paul was maxing the first ability out. That's why that combo hit just so dang hard. Roar's playing Ring Around the Rosie with the Gold Fury. It'll finally stop in place for the Tartarus Titans to find the first objective of the game. I'm still blown away by the damage that Paul did. That was 75% of Boronic's HP with a literal 2-1 combo. Transforms just for the safety after to make sure he guarantees the kill, but that is scary what Paul can do at level 14 with 2 items.
I mean, and anytime Boronic gets gap closed by the Morgan, he should be dying. I mean, that is just how the game works, because you can transform into an assassin, but now Aurora could be in a bit of trouble. Sam for Soccer has the ultimate. Good immunity, though.
Oh, walks in to the Earthshaker. Will go down to Scary D. Double up by Hurrywin. Finds SOT and Paul. Layers is trying to pick his way into this fight. Sunlight Source from Stewart hits 2. The Rolling Thunder after is nice. Yarkor zones away Paul with the Fields of Love. Sam finds the Jetstream onto 1. Doesn't TP in. Instead, it's Boronic taking down Stewart. And it's a 2-for-none trade for the Scarabs, who have now positioned towards Fire Giant. No one from the Tartarus Titans here yet, but Layers is nearby. Ultimate still up for the Robin. Pull in. Layers goes down. Not a chance he makes it in. Can SOT do so? Do the Scarabs have the discipline to wait out this Guan Yu? He is trying his best to take anybody with them. Fire still being held onto by Sam. He walks through the Ring of Fire. SOT is gone, but Paul has found one of his own and goes down right after. Fire Giant picked back up. Because of the Vulcan turret, it stays alive. Aurora, can he do it? No, he cannot. The Solar Scarabs at 15 minutes take down 3, maybe a 4th one of the Tartarus Titans, and a Fire Giant with it. That is an unofficial deicide by the Titans with an objective to boot.
I've been holding this one for a while now. Scary D, that was such a clean dash to catch out Stewart's Jolt. I mean, that was 2 minutes ago at this point, but making sure to kill that Ishtar was massive. And then, of course, the Solar Scarabs going for a 15-minute Fire Giant is questionable, but now Stewart is winning the 1v1, but Sam for Soccer is getting real low here.
You gotta get out, Sam.
The shotgun autos.
A little bit of extra. Sunlight Swords hit. Stun is good. One more auto. No, Stewart missed 2.
Nope.
He needs another one. Okay, got it there. Held my breath for a moment. But Stewart able to take 1 Fire Giant away from the 4 of the Scarabs who did have it. An important one, too, as Sam for Soccer was starting to ramp up a little bit on the Susano.
Yeah, I think if Stewart didn't do the shotgun autos, maybe he had a chance to kill much earlier on, but Sam for Soccer almost was a second, 1 missed auto away from getting out in that situation. Taking Fire Giant off Sam, though, it's going to be a big deal. Yark, Boronic, and Scary D still have this buff, and they've got it for quite some time. I imagine the Tartarus Titans are still feeling fine. I mean, the gold's still not in their favor. And of course, they've lost Fire Giant, but they're able to fight back in. You're not in a situation this early on in the game where the Solar Scarabs are grouped as 5 and pushing down towers. They're essentially going back to their buffs. I mean, Sam for Soccer is level 14. You know, this is not endgame Fire Giant status. So I think the Tartarus Titans probably step back to farming and then wait until you see the group from the Solar Scarabs. I mean, all objectives are down. No Fury being looked at. Aurora gets pulled back in, but Yarkor was a little bit far away, so no more aggression on that side of the map. But now that we see Boronic on the left side, hopefully that means the Scarabs are grouping up for this tier 1 tower, while Hurrywin plays a bit of zone duty.
Does root out a roar. Pull.
Ooh.
Just short.
You gotta go for those.
You gotta. Yeah, you know, might as well. Especially when you got Yark and Boronic on the other side. Maybe for some backup damage. Those 2 with Fire Giant makes quick work of a tier 1 tower. Hurrywin on the Sylvanas will be able to grab 1 offering. Aurora's freeze may instead be his own death. There are 5 Scarabs surrounding the Ice Giant, but
what?
Just enough for him to get out. Needs a little bit more damage onto Aurora. Scaredy will find it. And Fields of Love to catch out Layers. Yarkor has pushed 2 back. SOT on the Cavalry and right into an Earthshaker from Moronic. The Solar Scarabs. This is a different beast of a team from game number 1. They have completely turned around their mindset for games 2 and 3 and are now knocking on the door of a tier 2 tower on the left side.
Paul's nowhere to be found. Going to be pushing mid in the process. It looks like Sanford Soccer might go to try and defend, but the Tartarus Titans, I mean, they are a no-show towards the tier 2 tower. That's going to be free here for the Scarabs. It looks like they're waiting at this Oni Fear. They'd like to grab that one as soon as possible as well. You just have to retreat at this point. Sanford Soccer still needs to farm. I mean, when Paul's level 17 and your best option to deal with him is a Susano that's level 14, you do need to get some answers there, but it looks like as long as Paul's not going to be in the fight, you're not too concerned. I mean, I saw for a second Paul went invis, looked like he was going to chase down Yark, and then was like, I don't want to die, and just backed off, let that one go. And the Solar Scarabs were able to grab that tier 2 tower and push that gold lead even further in their favor. If they can get some extra farm on Sam, I don't see a single issue with how the Scarabs have been playing this one. 5,200 gold in their favor. And they still have that Fury. Actually, they're going to lose the Fire Giant in about 5 seconds, but they've got the Oni Fury minions spawning in here. They may decide to group up with them. They may decide to just go for this Fire Giant when it spawns back in. But they do have the complete control of the map as of now.
So then for the Tartarus Titans, I mean, kind of been hyping up Paul quite a bit for this Morgan. Has a lot of turnaround and big playmaking potential. But is Paul kind of that guy for the Tartarus Titans to turn this one back around, to repel the Solar Scarabs and keep them back, or is it going to take more than just the effort from Paul to do so?
I mean, it's definitely going to take more than just Paul. He has that ability, but Sanford Soccer, I feel, is itemized perfectly. He's got the Crusher, he's got the Erendite. 2 ways to reveal that stealth. Again, if Paul can't close gap, we saw how much damage he did on a Boronic, but the way I phrased it was, if Paul gets within melee range of a mage, he should be one-shotting you. There's no reason for Paul at this point in the game to get within melee range unless the Scarabs are completely lacking. Like, they just have no idea that he's coming. They have so many tools to reveal Paul from stealth. As long as their ward coverage is good, Paul should not be able to close gap. He does have the Bracer. He's been using that as his movement speed to try and close gap. It's currently in mid lane, so he's been going invis from the movement speed and trying to zoom and closing that gap as quickly as possible. But I think the Scarabs are grouping perfectly. Look at this. Sam and Boronic they are within auto attack range. There's no way that this Morgan is getting close without them at least hearing. And then Sam can just drop the ultimate, reveal immediately, and try and get aggressive onto that pick. So Paul does need to show up, but it's going to take more than just Paul. I mean, you're going to have a little bit more damage here from Stu as well. The carries have some heavy shoes to fill.
It was a 15-minute Fire Giant from the Solar Scarabs. And now as we approach the 20-minute mark, the second one up on the table for the Scarabs himself. So for the Tartarus Titans, some way to try and answer back. There's no towers left, at least on the left side of the map. So the Tartarus Titans don't have to worry about putting any efforts over there just yet. This mid-tier 1 still standing, still keeping the Solar Scarabs away, at least for the time being. So for the Solar Scarabs, they're playing this very slowly, despite the high pacing that they had just established not too long ago. I mean, again, 5 or so minutes ago, the Scarabs are picking fights across the jungle, taking a Fire Giant at 15 minutes, a very risky call, but one they pulled off very well. And now we finally see the Solar Scarab screwed up towards the right side.
Yep, Fire Giant touchdown. And the rest of the Titans are here. Paul's been sitting around this red buff. He's got his own little bracer there. He just consistently has been using the movement speed to see if he can close gap onto anyone, but no one's walking up. No one's taking the bait against this 1v1 for now. But with the confirm that Boronic has with the turret placement, I can see why the Solar Scarabs are so confident in this jungle, right? They've got the goalie, they've got everything they need to try and go for it. But consistently, I'm actually seeing Boronic turn around. They don't know where the Tartarus Titans are, right? They've been known to make that play off the back of a roar, go for the full wraparound. And I got to keep my eyes on Layers and on Paul. Where are they going to be going for? At the moment, just clearing waves consistently, but you got to keep that vision up. If these two are able to get to the backline, they can do explosive damage. And that's why the Solar Scarabs are a bit hesitant to go for these pulls, right? They're going for something. But you can see Paul can really close some gaps here. Level 20 on the Morgan. With that movement speed, I mean, can get essentially across the map. I'm just keeping my eyes on that invis to see where they're finally going to go in. But so far, the Scarabs have not felt confident enough to go for that FG.
They do still have all 6 towers on the map for the Solar Scarabs. So there's a little bit of safety there, but of course all 3 of the tier 1s are sitting at 50% or less HP. Some of them sitting barely at 10% like that one in solo lane. But the Titans haven't really pushed up anywhere. I mean, again, Paul is literally not left like this circle of the jungle around the red buff and green buff area. I think the furthest he's gone was like the halfway point of the mid lane to
he doesn't go
clear
farther
away.
than his bracer, man.
But he is staying in that little section of the map. In fact, he's hovering right here in the jungle the entire time. But I think you're right to mention that
top second there.
The Scarabs haven't really pulled anything because they're just unaware of where Paul is at any given time.
I think they're respecting the damage, but more so they wanted to get some more power spikes. Sanford Soccer just finished that Heartseeker. You can see Veronic finish the Staff of Mirrodin. Now they're feeling confident going for this objective. Layers and Paul nowhere to be seen.
Frenzy up. Feels a love down. Fire Giant still being pulled. Stun from the ult on Stewart. Scaredy trying to zone away. The Vulcan ultimate comes through. The Solar Scarabs get the Fire Giant, but Paul has taken down Scaredy. Layers finds the root on Veronic, who is down to 1 HP. Layers has taken him down. The Tartarus Titans are winning this team fight after. It's a double kill for Layers. It took a while for the Titans to fight back against the Scarabs, but they have done so. Only 2 now with the Fire Giant for the Scarabs.
Yeah, they just did not go through that Fire Giant quick enough, and losing a lot of ultimates on the confirmation means the fight after not looking good. Sanford Soccer wants this 1v1. Layers doesn't have access to the ultimate, and this should be a relatively free pick. The Heart Bomb's off the mark, though. Layers lives way too long, and here comes Paul.
Uh-oh, Paul. Ooh, blink away by Sam. Good play for him. Yark does take down Layers and shuts down the jungler for what little bounty he had built up during that team fight. But the Titans taking 3 Fire Giant buffs away from the Scarabs. A great start, or I should say a great cleanup on that fight. Kill on Paul would have been massive for Yarkor and the rest of the team. In fact, Paul beads.
He saved the bubble.
It saved his bubble for that one.
Yeah, Paul made sure that Magi stayed, used the beads for the stun. I guess just worried like one more auto, and it definitely would have. One more auto from Yark was killing. Tons of crit chance coming from this Cupid with the build, so I understand the panic, and also realizing, hey, if I die here, we probably lose a lot off of that. But it looks like the Solar Scarab's still going to be set up towards the Primal Fury. Fire Giant up for about 230, but only on the Yark and Sam, the only 2 members of the Scarabs that are going to be using that buff for any time soon. I mean, if I'm Sam, and I understand the hesitation, but I am not grouped up with the team with that Fire Giant. I am not DPSing that. I am running around and finding Paul. That is my one and only job. If I can find the Morgan before the fight goes in, force that ultimate defensively, and then get out, or find the 100 to 0. Because remember, Paul's got no Aegis. It's just bracer and beats. If you're able to 100 to 0 Paul or force that ultimate, I think that team fight just goes so much better. But the double Robin, both of these Robins, Layers also going to the backline, just ruins the team fight, especially when you're using Fields of Love and Earthshaker for confirmation towards that Fire Giant. I mean, Scary D was zoning, and the rest of his team was dying, and he's like, oh, we're just running? Okay, my bad. It was just a very split team fight, so I think Sam needs to find Paul before these fights start.
The Hunt for Paul. Sounds like a really good movie name, in all honesty. Tartarus Titans.
Just Paul.
Just call the movie Paul.
just Paul. Paul. Yeah, I'd watch that.
I'd watch a movie on Paul. I'd watch a SMITE documentary of Paul and his career so far. It's been pretty good for the mid laner of the Tartarus Titans. Maybe a turnaround. Paul stealthed up. SOT on the Cavalry will only find Hurrywin with the stun, who uses his own ultimate. Turnaround damage might be good from the Scarab. Scaredy goes in, locks in 2. Vulcan ult will not find Stewart this time around. Instead, it's Hurrywin stunned out. The shell comes through. Sam trying to fight 4, losing the battle. It's Paul who takes down Sam. Solar Scarabs on the run as Hurrywin under a quarter HP. The Tartarus Titans very healthy with the healing from SOT.
Yeah, the Scarabs just were not able to combo too well on those ultimates. I mean, Hurrywin had a nice knock-up, just immuning the stun there from SOT, but SOT's ult is almost back up. I mean, that is the reason you picked this Guan Yu. It's not a fair trade. The Tartarus Titans are going to be able to grab that tier 2 tower as we're getting into late game status where, you know, this was a massive lead built up for the Scarabs, which they still have. The gold's still in their favor, but they have not been able to answer back any of these kills that the Titans have been getting as of recent. Losing Sam there, you're going to lose your last Fire Giant buff in about 10 seconds off Yarkor. And we're going to see another full-on reset. I mean, we're pretty close to EFG territory if this dance takes a little bit too long. Paul's sitting 5-1. And I do think that Sam tried to get to the backline, tried to disrupt. Unfortunately, that time, the Tartarus Titans were not split. They were truly grouped up. So Sam for Soccer does not get in and get out. And a beautiful wall by Aurora confirmed that kill. Oh, he got out. He got deaded.
Dead.
Yeah. And that doesn't count as getting out.
No, not the way you wanted to. But 5-1 for Paul on the Morrigan has been, again, largely inactive, at least for the early portions of the game, and even in these last couple of team fights, only showing up right at the very end of it. SOT on the Guan Yu, near full build. You can see anti-heal has been picked up across the board for most of the players of the Tartarus Titans. Brawler's beat stick for layers, deal with sustain. Even maybe towards a pestilence, it seems, could be an option for SOT. Tainted breastplate finished up as well, and even getting a little bit of that crit for Stewart with the Shadow Steel. So sustain is not going to really be there now for the Solar Scarabs where it was maybe in the earlier stages of the game. So do the Scarabs have maybe now the burst damage, the fight back to answer to maybe now their lack of sustain?
I mean, Yark just finished Deathbringer, so I imagine they've got plenty of burst, and their burn towards Fire Giant's going to be looking better as well. But it looks like the Tartarus Titans are in the position to make a pull on a Fire Giant, or at least get aggressive. Hurrywin, walled off and stunned, but no more follow-up. I want to see this Sylvanas hit a nice pull. Unfortunately, SOT and Aurora cannot be the targets. You got to be trying to pull someone else. Scary D is also leading the charge. But take a look. Paul and Layers completely split up from the rest of the team, and this is what happened last time. Someone's got to find a way to stop it. I think Sam might have heard this.
Oh, he's zooming.
He's got no idea. Oh, no.
Does not see it. Stun connects. One more tap. Paul is low. He might even go down to this fight. Earthshaker not going to find much. Veronic goes down to SOT. But it's a 1-for-2. Layers falls to Yarkor. There are still 3 active, fairly healthy. Yarkor finds the heart bomb on Stewart, but Stewart is healing back up quite a bit. And Scary D goes down. Yark gets him, finds the double kill, but now he's surrounded by 2 tanks. Does he have the sustain? No, he does not. The crit is not enough. And the Tartarus Titans have taken down 4 of the Scarabs.
They have, but it's only 2 tanks alive, so I don't imagine we'll see anything else for it. I thought Sam heard Paul and was pretending like he didn't, but
he just didn't.
He was none the wiser. If he got his ult off, he traded. Like, he actually kills Paul, which is ridiculous. So if he gets the jump on Paul, you see how that 1v1 would probably go. Has not been able to. I mean, Paul drops that bracer, hides by blue buff, and then just stealths the whole way down the backside of that Fire Giant. I mean, you got to have your turtle beat just cracked the whole way up if you're going to be able to hear that one, and I don't think it's going to happen again. Beads down from Sam, and is working on, you know, it could be a cloak, probably a Magi's Blessing. That would help out in the 1v1 immensely. You're able to live with plenty of damage, but you really do need to be able to immune that stun without beats if you want to win that one. But, I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's a full double down. We're back into even standpoint, but the Tartarus Titans have gotten the best out of the past, like, 3 little skirmishes we've seen. Haven't been able to get much off it, but now it's EFG territory. Caught up back in the gold. Still a bit in favor of the Scarabs, but the way that they've climbed back, I don't imagine they're too worried about this fight anymore.
Now you can see that Yark has sold a starter for a little bit of pen, something he was maybe lacking against those 2 tanks to try and fight back. Silver Branch Bow is the pickup for the Cupid. Tartarus Titans with the offensive position around the Fire Giant pit. Yarkor does have Blink on the Cupid. We'll see if he can put that to use up against the shell that's still down on the other side. I mean, as far as a Relic Roundup is concerned, Solar Scarabs, they've got 15 seconds for just about everybody except for Yarkor and his beads. Meanwhile, we're still pushing 40 plus for most of the Tartarus Titans. Hurrywin misses the pull and uses the Phantom Shell. That's going to be down for another 2 minutes.
That's an unfortunate loss there, because Hurrywin didn't seem like he was in too much trouble, but the fear of losing your support before the pull even starts is a little bit too much, so that is going to be down for quite some time. Now Hurry's going to have to watch the positioning, especially walking up towards this enhanced Fire Giant. But I think the Solar Scarabs need to realize the Tartarus Titans have not made an actual pull towards this fire once. I mean, look at Paul and Layers. Again, they are nowhere near this pit. If the call is just for Aurora to tank and Stewart to pull, look at Stewart's build. He's not going to be doing it very quickly. It's going to take a solid minute for that enhanced Fire Giant to go down. So I think the Scarabs finally realize, I think we're getting baited here, guys. Let's back up at least a little bit until they actually take some damage towards that objective. Let them pull it. They haven't went for it yet. Might as well chill.
SOT doesn't take a lot of damage. I was thinking, man, you just got rooted and CC'd in the middle of 4. He's fine. Fire started.
Nope.
Fire stopped. Bubble gone from Aurora. Triple knockup from Hurrywin, who will now lose his bubble. Fields of Love. Not going to find anybody this time. Paul has located Scary D. Transforms into the Robin, but Sam is already out of the fight. Paul versus Yarkor, not a fight that the Robin wants to take this time around. Wall does not catch Scary D. Instead, the Tartarus Titans will top off with the healing from SOT and regroup round fire.
I mean, this time I watched Sam. He actually sat back and said, I'm going to wait for Paul to reveal himself. The second Paul showed up, Sam blinks in, was not able to close gap on damage. Scary D teleports back in, good wall, but all DPS has stopped. The Tartarus Titans want to fight again.
Ult in from Layers, Hurrywin low, Yarkor already gone. There's only 2 left of the Solar Scarabs. It's Scary D and it's Baronic. Vulcan Ultimate back online momentarily, but there's not a snowball's chance in hell that Paul lets Baronic get back here. You can see Baronic goes for the ultimate. It's gonna hit the fire. The Titans will say thank you for the extra damage. And all 5 with the buff around their waist will march up to the right side.
That was pretty nice of Baronic, though, to help them DPS.
Give him a little bit of assistance.
Yeah, I think so. The turret is going to spot out Aurora and the rest of the Titans as they all march through. Remember, Paul wasn't looking too healthy, but plenty of sustain from SOT and the Enhanced Fire Giant. This Phoenix is gone. 20 seconds for Hurry, 22 for Yark. Smart to go for the mid Phoenix next. And I don't imagine the Solar Scarabs step up. I think all these birds go down. Maybe a soft defense towards left, but 1 pick here means game over.
Paul with that Polynomicon. You can see the extra damage he can do. Right side bird gone. Middle Phoenix also removed. I didn't even realize there was still a tier 2 tower standing up on left side.
I mean, they were so far behind.
That'll be SOT going ahead and removing that one off the map. So no more permanent structures. And no more Oni Fury either. That one will be swiftly collected by the Tartarus Titans. Who again, they were, what, 8,000 gold down at one point to the Solar Scarabs. It looked like all momentum had kind of been there, but now we're seeing the Solar Scarabs, the one on the back foot. Remember, it was a 15-minute Fire Giant that the Solar Scarabs had started this game with.
I forgot that it was 15 minutes into the game.
That was 20 minutes ago, Shrelly.
I don't even remember what I was doing 20 minutes ago. I mean, clearly I was casting a Fire Giant fight, but it's hard to remember that that's how much of a turn this game has taken. And again, it's off the back of the fear of Paul one-shotting their carries. The Solar Scarabs had all the gold in the world, but they never committed to the Fire Giant. They hid behind walls, they sort of looked around, they finally committed to the fight, dropped all their ults on it, and lost after. And ever since then, these kills have been coming up the way of the Tartarus Titans.
My eyes hurt looking at Aurora's health bar. How much HP does he? He's got to be sitting over 4K. 4,900? What?
It's almost got 5K.
Is that even legal?
I've read the rule book. He's allowed. That checks out. He's allowed to have 5K HP. What's the problem? Look at him charging in. He could 1v1 that Phoenix. He doesn't care.
He's taking 300 from a Phoenix and it's doing nothing to him. Solar Scarabs on the defense. Again, Paul sitting in the jungle, waiting for an opportunity to walk in. Aurora's not concerned whatsoever about his HP. It is still sitting up there. But with all 3 Phoenixes gone, enhanced minions pushing down all sides of the map. Solar Troll walks in, pulled by Hurry, Fields of Love to 3. It's only going to catch SOT, who shrugs off the damage. Aurora goes in, gets the bubble off of Scary. Now it's Layers to the right side, Paul to the left. The pincer of the carries of the Tartarus Titans could easily seal the deal on this game, as the Titan is slowly losing HP from the Scarabs.
I mean, the Solar Scarabs, they have to fight outside of the Phoenix. They have to fight now, but they're not going to. They're just going to let the Titans walk in.
Pull on Aurora. He's the healthiest one there. Vulcan ult does nothing. In fact, Baronic is in the grave. Paul gets an ultimate of his own. Stewart finds 1. Stewart finds 2. Give one over to Layers. Hurry, the last alive. And the Tartarus Titans turn around the set and take it.
Yarkor actually went kind of massive there. Just dashed to the back line, blinked in, killed Paul immediately, and then Stewart just turned and said, I'm going to make sure you're dead as well. EFG that late in the game, you got to take the fight to them, and they tried. But the Tartarus Titans just had too much map presence. All 3 Phoenixes down, Oni fire minions pouring in. That Titan was never going to survive that siege.
I still can't believe you had 4,900.
You're flabbergasted.
Bro,
at the amount of Ymir
I have
HP.
never seen that much HP on a single target that wasn't a Cthulhu ulting at late game. That was That was mind-blowing to me. I know that, like, I remember every one of those little pips is 100 HP. That's why I said my eyes hurt looking at that much health, man. That's crazy.
I mean, Aurora, you wanted to be a tanky boy. You got his Relic Dagger, his Emp Armor, and he said, I like this. I'm going to keep getting some more HP. As long as you don't die, you can stay in the forefront of the fight. The walls, the freezes, Aurora's on point.
Aurora and the Tartarus Titans able to reel this one back after being down early on into the game. Congratulations to the Titans. You keep up the streak going. Unfortunately, you had to go to 3, but you still find the win. That's it for me and Charlie. We'll throw it over to Dave and Miff on the desk.
Back to their winning ways now are the Tartarus Titans. After beating the Oni Warriors a couple sets ago, they lose to the Leviathans and now bounce back. And in their first Game 3 of all of Phase 3, the Tartarus Titans are able to come out ahead. Not without some bumps in the road, though. This is a very speed bump heavy game for really both teams here, Miff. Scarabs probably feel like they dropped one here. Win and set in its entirety as how competitive as this game was. I think there's some good to take away for the Scarabs from this set. Not only did you notched a win, you were competitive in a Game 3, gets a bit out of hand later on, but gave yourself a chance. Maybe found some form of an identity. And so I think that's some good for the Solar Scarabs moving forward. The winners, though, the Titans, they improve their standings. They climb up a little bit further. And ultimately, I think the threat of Paul by the end of that game, Miff, was a big difference maker.
Yeah, I mean, ever since the solo kill on the Baronic, my man Baronic was looking different in that game. It was, hey, I'll step up, I'll clear wave, I'll look for Earthshakers, and all of a sudden it was, hey, I'm going to be back here. Maybe you initiate, and maybe if an objective gets low, I'll toss something there. Otherwise, it was a whole lot of hiding. Paul really did strike fear into some of these guys, but impressive stuff from both teams. I think the Solar Scarabs had a much better performance than at least I was expecting. I won't speak to the general consensus of the fans at home. The Tartarus Titans looked pretty good as well, figuring out a couple of drafts that'll work for them. Both teams showing some strides.
Yeah, but to close things out here in game number 3 are the Tartarus Titans. Again, Tartarus Titans, remember, picked up a new coach here this week. It was Slaney. And so, first set with the new coach, first win with the new coach. And as such, Slaney standing by for the post-game interview.
Yeah, that's right. I got Coach Slaney now for the Tartarus Titans, the Solar Titans, Tartarus Scarabs, whatever name you want to call them. It's a win out here for you. It's got to feel good for you as the coach to find another win under your belt with the team. And kind of talk to me about this. You know, you got some of your old players that were through. Is that kind of the decision that you made to jump with this team just because you're so familiar with a lot of the players over there?
Yeah, it's definitely a big point. I know how all of them are. I've had experience coaching with them, and I'm also really good friends with them, which I think is like a really big point. I know that I'm just going to enjoy my time with these guys, so that was like a big reason.
Now, kind of talk to me about this Game 3 here, because it started out not so great for your team out there. You know, falling behind a little bit early, about 6,000 or so gold behind. What's going through your mind as a coach, kind of seeing this game kind of play out, this fall behind, but then this turnaround point? I mean, Paul's playing this lone assassin, this lone wolf style of play. I mean, what's going through your mind as a coach during this game?
Well, I kind of knew that a big reason why we fell behind was just a lot of communication issues. And I obviously know from playing with these guys, playing against these guys, that I know how good they are in team fights. So I was just hoping that they realized the communication issues that they were having and fixed it as the game went on. So obviously it was nerve-wracking falling behind like that, but I had faith in the guys the whole time. And we also know the issues that we made that game, so it's like something that we can go back home tonight and go over them.
And for your team out here, I mean, you've only got about half of the phase, or I should say half of this round robin left of the phase. So what are maybe some of kind of the improvements that you're going to be working on with the team, things to kind of get ready and kind of hunker down for as we start moving towards playoffs?
Kind of like what I said, communication. I think these guys haven't had like the best direction with how they want to communicate to each other. Not like they don't always have like the most useful information going out. And then also drafts, I think that's something that I can try and help with a lot. Obviously today, I would say that their drafts were pretty different than what they always would have drafted usually. So I'm glad that we still got the win, even with like trying stuff out.
Well, there you have it, Coach Slaney. Thinking at least some hopes for the team, maybe a little bit of things to work on. But Slaney, congratulations on the win for your team. I'll let you get back with the team. We'll throw it back over to the desk.
That's right. Couple sets remaining now. 4 for the Tartarus Titans. 4 sets remaining for the Solar Scarabs as well. We'll see the Titans back in action on Saturday up against the Valhalla Valkyries. So this primer day of SPL prior to kicking off the weekend now comes to a close. Couple 3-game sets, and honestly a day that I think we were assuming we'd at least see one. The Camelot Kings did not play today, so I don't know why I said their name. The Atlantis Leviathans.
Got it.
That's what I'm thinking of against the Jade Dragons. That one goes the distance here, Miff. Then the Solar Scarabs go the distance against the Titans. I wanna look at the Scarabs as well as we look back at some of the highlights of this set here, Miff. Do you still? I know you're not a big moral victory guy. Do you think there is some good to take away from the Scarabs in a set like this?
I think that Yarkor has a phenomenal performance. I don't think I've got no complaints for Yarkor. Whoever takes up the coach mantle will have one note for him, and it's to keep doing what you're doing. I was incredibly impressed by Hurriwin's performance, especially in Game 3, a couple of those pools. Very strong. Scary D seems to be holding his own in lane a lot better than he was a couple of weeks ago, has made massive strides there. The Solar Scarabs have got individual pieces that look very good. It's about tying it together and creating a cohesive unit, I think is going to be the next step for this team. Otherwise, having some comfort picks, also a pretty good thing. Some standard draft picks as well that fit into the meta, so you can use them as bans away from other teams as well, just getting yourself some good stuff. I think there's a lot the Solar Scarabs can lean on and look at in this set and say, all right, well, we may not have won, but we're at least getting a win, which is an improvement, a market improvement, and we've got individual pieces that have been performing at a very high level.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. Yark at 6-3-7, standout performer on the Solar Scarabs, 25,000 damage. Again, second highest damage in the game. Baronic a bit closer this time around with the 22,000 damage, but Stewart had a really, really good set. Remember the times we're talking about Yark, and at least the Yark was really close to the top of the damage chart. Stewart outpaced Yark for top damage in both of the 2 games where we were talking about that. Also, Layers breaks out of 0 to 3 kill purgatory where he had been for the last 6 or 7 games he's played in the SPL, win or lose. Has felt very facilitatory, and so I think a game like this on the Robin, like you expect Miff to get a bit more active, Layers was able to finally string some kills together. So if you're starting to look at math and all that sort of fun stuff as well, remember the Valkyries, they're making this big surge. Valks to 6th, I think, is the Twitter hashtag that they've been using. Titans distance themselves from that a little bit here with a win from the bottom couple of teams. Really can distance themselves on Saturday, as I mentioned. The Titans and the Valkyries will be playing. So 2 sets today, Miff. 2 3-game sets. I think Dragons, Leviathans, we expected to go 3. And now I'll have the schedule to fully help me out here. Admittedly, I think the Scarabs looking as competitive as they did is surprising to me, but I hope that's a trend that can continue for the Scarabs team because they've got a lot of good to build on. Lots of Smite to be played here for the rest of this week. We got 2 games tomorrow. That's Oni Warriors and Valhalla Valkyries. Kings versus Bolts also playing up against one another. Very important for those 2 teams. Then the Titans back in action against the Valkyries. That's the one I was really looking at. This Valkyries team really trying to make a push into that top 6. Titans can slam the door. I guess not fully closed, but I get a bit closer to closed with a win there on Saturday. And then also a triple header on Sunday. That's Bolts Leviathan, Scarabs Kings, Dragons Titans to end the weekend. So Miff, some really high impact sets to look forward to throughout the rest of this weekend. The big one was Jade Dragons up against Leviathans, and with the win, the Leviathans separate themselves out just a little bit. Pressure starting to mount, though, for these bottom 2 teams needing to string some wins together.
I think that every Valkyrie set, until they lose a set, is going to be the most interesting thing happening at Smite.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the absolute truth of it. If they can mount a comeback and start really stringing together a nice streak for themselves, break out of the bottom 2, that would be one of the best Cinderella stories to come as late into the game as possible as we start to rapidly approach Worlds. So I'll be keeping my eyes on them. They've got a doubleheader this week, and I think the fans at home should make sure, if they're watching anything, at least catch that first Valk sets tomorrow, because if they win there, that's the first step. Well, second, I suppose.
First step, right.
Second, we beat the Kings.
Right, beat the Kings, right. Second step in their journey. But then also, Valkyries fans and the players themselves will have their eyes heavily turned towards the Kings and the Bolts, which is happening in our second set tomorrow. Because remember, that team that's right outside the bottom 2 are the Bolts. And so if the Valkyries can find a win, the Bolts are not able to win. It's a 1-win jump up for the Valkyries instead of a multi-win shift. The math is going to get very, very interesting. We've got 8 sets of Smite remaining here this weekend. We'll play 2 of them tomorrow right here at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, twitch.tv/Smite Game. That's all the Smite we've got for you today, though. So on behalf of myself, Mifflin, all the other casters, everyone back in production, thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.